good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Imagine if all we had today was like talk about Maryland basketball. Like, imagine if that was the world that we were in. I was kind of hoping there would be more like Orioles acquisitions over the weekend, and there'd be more to this, but it's what it is. We'll settle with what we got. It's what I mean. Only going out and getting Corbin Burns. Only that's the case. Speaking of which, a lot to do on the program today, including DL Hall will catch up with us. We'll talk to him about heading to Milwaukee as part of the Burns trade. And we'll ask him some of the questions that you guys have been wondering aloud, right? Like, was he still unhappy about being a reliever? Things like that. We'll talk to DL Hall about it. Always enjoyed our conversations with DL Hall over the years. Appreciate the fact that he's going to come on with us today. We'll also learn more about Corbin Burns. Bill Schroeder from the Brewers broadcast crew, former catcher, will tell us more about exactly what it is the Orioles are getting in Corbin Burns. Also today, didn't want to do this. Just didn't work out last week, but normally at the start of every offseason, I try to powwow with a friend, Brian McFarland from Russell Street Report. Mr. Raven's salary cap, do a big picture look at what's ahead for the Ravens, the decisions they have to make, what's feasible. Like they don't have any running backs right now besides Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Although, by the way, the wording of the way that John Harbaugh said, like, no injury from the season was concerning going to next year, I was like, what, does that include Keaton Mitchell? That'd be kind of wild, right?
He was Achilles, right?
Yeah, and it was sort of late in the
November?
season. Yeah, it was like, that would be impressive.
Well, apparently Achilles take 3 months.
That's a good point. Everything has changed. But we'll lay it all out. What's the reality? How do you handle the Ronnie Stanley situation? How do you handle the Marlon Humphrey situation? We will talk to Brian McFarland about all of that. Loyola Lacrosse got a big win to open the season as they defeated Georgetown on Saturday. Evan James had 5 goals and 4 assists in that game.
That's it?
Yeah, 9 points as Loyola really rolled. They gave up the first goal of the game, and then it was never close.
What was it? It was 18-10 or something?
18-10 was the final score. So we'll catch up with Evan James, and it's Monday, so Jeremy Kahn will join us, stuffing things. You never know what might pop up during the course of the program. Today's show brought to you by Toyota. Man, we have been trying to tell you that you have the opportunity. If you're a high school sports fan, if you're a high school sports supporter, and I think that part of this is really important, that you just want to show some love to like young athletes in this area and support what it is that they're doing, then Toyota is a proud sponsor of County Sports Zone and County Sports Zone Pick'em, which you can find right now. You go to countysports.zone, and you can check it out, and you can get involved, and you can show how much you know, and it's all brought to you by our friends at Toyota, and we appreciate that significantly, so go check it out today. As far as the weekend is concerned, meh. You know, Maryland basketball, never really all that involved. It's a miracle they didn't lose that game by 40 points because they were never involved. And it took until the end for Michigan State to figure out, like, hey, we could just pull away. What are we doing here? So that's a huge bummer because, again, the last couple of weeks kept saying, like, they need to start doing things of significance in order to create a path. And getting a road win at Michigan State would have been helpful for that. They didn't get it. I can only say it so many ways. It's a more compelling Maryland team than maybe we thought it was going to be a month ago, but unfortunately it's not likely to be a team that's going to be involved in the NCAA tournament, and that's a shame because Jameer Young's going to be leaving after this year, and the freshmen just continue to not take steps forward that make you believe that there is a foundation there. I'm not trying to pile on them, but it's a bummer. It's a bummer. There's no way around that. The Maryland women's game was very compelling on Saturday night. Ultimately, Iowa did end up pulling away, but at one point in the second quarter, I was like, all right, well, this was fun, but
Maryland's a nothing school? Is that That was the thoughts we were
probably
going
a
through.
lacrosse school.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
you know,
okay.
would
Thank
probably be
goodness.
the way that you would
Lacrosse
say
is still
that.
there.
Still pretty good at field hockey. Still
True.
Becoming a baseball school.
That's right. That is right.
Got that going for him. Lest you forget, 3-time defending bowl champions.
Really?
Hello?
Oh, bowl champions. Okay.
What are you talking about?
For some reason, I thought
Back
bowl. I
to
thought
back
bowling.
to back bowl champions.
That's right. That's right.
So you settle down over there. In the third quarter, that game got really interesting, and I wanted to go. I forgot like a month ago to buy tickets, and then I looked at the ticket prices and said, and I didn't want to be the guy that was like hitting them up last minute, like, hey, I know that you're getting more requests for this game than any game that you've ever gotten before, but like, you got a spot for me too, right? I just didn't want to be that guy. So it's a shame because the atmosphere was incredible. It was awesome. Fox's coverage was a bit over the top. It's a fine line. Like, they know that everybody's tuned in for Caitlin Clark, but like leaving Caitlin Clark's stat line up on the screen for the entirety of the broadcast. And I wonder if people started to notice on Twitter because like somewhere in the second half they pulled it down for a little bit, and I was like, that's interesting. But Caitlin Clark's awesome, and Caitlin Clark's the biggest star in college basketball, and so it was cool. Everything about it was really cool, except for the fact that Maryland lost. That was the only bummer in all of that. So kind of a bummer of a weekend. Towson lost. I watched some of that.
Towson did cover. Thank God.
Still, like, just
it
felt
they should have won.
It felt like okay, you didn't play your best game, but it's right there for you. And then they just never seized it.
I'm
never.
worried they're going to have more of these types of kids because they play so slow. So their games, they're never out of it because of they're going to play games in the 50s and 60s a lot. So
that was not pleasant. So I was trying to think if I have something nice to say.
But it was that guy's birthday on Hofstra, so they had no chance.
They did have that. Yeah, I forget. I totally forgot that Speedy Claxton was the coach at Hofstra. Dude, that guy was so good. Like, that guy was insane how good he was. Yeah, on the local front, it wasn't a great weekend. Lacrosse season got underway, and the weather was cooperative, so that was nice. But Hopkins lost. Maryland needed double overtime in order to beat Richmond. Richmond's good, though. Loyola did get a nice win. Towson doesn't play until tomorrow. UMBC doesn't play until a couple of weeks from now. Navy throttled Mount St. Mary's in their opener. So that's the story on the local front. As I mentioned, nothing more related to the Orioles, and I certainly sure as F do not care about the Pro Bowl, so I've got nothing. I'm sure.
I think the NFC won, I think.
If you say so. I'll never know. I can promise you that.
I think they had fun.
I will never, if you say so. In my life, I will never know. I remember last year, deciding that I would look at it for a minute just because I wanted to see what the flag football concept looked like, and then thinking, okay, because you can still in flag football you can still get neat highlights of guys going up and making catches and stuff like that, but not enough to get me to watch. I was thinking that, in fact,
I think Ray Lewis was mic'd up.
Cool.
There were a lot of sound bites coming from him.
Neat. I'm sure it was neat for the parties involved. I'm sure everyone enjoyed their time and memories were made, and they traded shirts at the end, and they'll stay in touch for forever. I'm sure it was a lovely weekend. I had a moment yesterday. It's funny because, by the way, happy birthday to my son, my baby boy. My baby boy turns 9 today, 9 years old.
Wow.
And he wanted Sakura last night for his birthday dinner. And
that was always my go-to on birthdays.
Unfortunately, the one near me closed. The one out in Hunt Valley.
No.
It's closed. I don't know what the story is on that. But we found it. I mean,
renovating or something? Or
somebody told me they might be opening a new one somewhere on York Road, but I don't.
So you went to Bento instead, and
we went to whatever the name of the place is in Parkville. That's basically Sakura, right? That's what we did, and it was lovely. We had a lovely dinner. But during the day, he's pushing it. I have to come home early from work today to do more birthday. We are.
You only turned 9
once. We are milking this cow.
You only turned 9 once.
So yesterday during the day, he's like, tomorrow's my birthday. And he kept asking for more things. I had to take him the putt-putt. And then he's like, well, can we go home and watch Ant-Man or whatever the hell he wanted
Grammys,
it. I'm like, yeah, he was with. Well, I got some thoughts there. So he kept asking for more and more. And at one point, I was like, well, I got to get on the elliptical.
Not the new Ant-Man, right? He wanted to watch the
No,
first
he wanted
two.
to watch the first.
The good
we're
ones.
doing the bit since the Disney cruise where they're going back and
okay.
watching because they've only seen like snippets and like
Right.
So they're watching all of the movies in chronological
That's
order.
exciting.
They're having a great time. They couldn't be having more
Come
fun.
back and watch it with
Unfortunately, that will get at some point. The Quantumania stinks. Thank God for that Guardians movie last year because it would have been a rough year. Rough year in the MCU. So they're in the process of all that. They wanted to go back and watch Ant-Man. I'm like, all right, that's fine, but I got to get on the elliptical. And so I get on the elliptical realizing, like, because I normally, when I work out, I'll try to put something on my phone or something like that to watch if I'm just on the elliptical or on the bike. And I had, like, no games yesterday that I even remotely – there was nothing. I was like, I guess I'll just watch Ant-Man with the boys. Like, I have nothing.
Purdue, Wisconsin.
Nothing, if you say so. I put on Mount St.
game.
Mary's Siena,
Yes.
for a bit. I put on that.
Yeah,
Dakota LeFew went over 1,000 career points.
Wow.
Yes. I didn't realize –
Just rattled off a couple, I think.
Siena, not very good.
No, they are not good at all.
Not very good. What happened there? They used to be good. What happened with Siena?
Did they used to be good?
Yeah, when Patsos was there, they were good. I think they won the
That was a long time ago.
They won one of those, like the CBI or something like that one year. They were in the tournament a few times. Siena used to be good. So that's what I was watching. And at one point, my son said, well, what are you watching? And I was like, I'm watching a basketball game. And he couldn't, like, he was like, Mount St. Mary's Siena.
Even he was like.
And I swear to God, he said to me, he's like, do you watch the Pro Bowl? And I said, no, I don't. He's like, well, I kind of think I want to. And I said to him, no, you don't.
But wants to occur tonight or not?
We were We were talking for a minute. It's me trying to talk to a 9-year-old about this topic. And
he was 8-year-old at the time, right?
Well, that's a great point. Now that he's 9, he might be way more mature and capable of handling the subject. We're talking about it being a flag football game and not really actually being football, and Lamar's not even there, and the whole thing.
There's still 7 of them there, I think.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, they had 7. I saw a picture floating around the internet of the 7 Ravens Pro Bowlers, and I was like, again, neato, gang. Neato. Terrific. Good for you guys. But he said, would you ever watch flag football? And it was a great question because I was reminded that flag football is going to go to the Olympics. And I was like, will I care for as much hubbub was made about flag football going to the Olympics? Would I care? And I don't know. I don't know that you can make it compelling to me to watch flag football. It was always fun to play as a kid. I always enjoyed when, like, somebody would say, hey, we're going to get together to play flag football because, like, you know, come on. We're not going to go out there and play full tackle football games. Like, I always enjoyed that once a year. Once a year.
Thanksgiving?
My cousin, no, it was on New Year's Day. My cousins organized, and everybody was hung the F over. It was in Forest Hill in Harford County.
Oh,
my cousins arranged this game every year, and I would be messed up. And I'd look around, and they were like 10 years older than me, and they were even more messed up. And it was full on, and it hurt like hell. Like hell, man. And the point for them was to get drunk enough, so they would just keep drinking during the game.
Yeah.
So get drunk enough that, like, it didn't matter. Like, you wouldn't feel feelings anymore. It was a hell of a day. Hell of a day, their annual New Year's Day football game, which I think caused some of them to not be capable of walking any longer. I always worry about that as I look at they're now about 50, and I'm like, oh, God. I think I'm seeing the impacts. It's not great. But I enjoyed flag football. I just don't know that even in the Olympics, even if they had NFL players involved.
I mean, yeah, because
I don't know.
Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, like.
But, like, the U.S. team's just going to be drastically better than everybody else. So, like.
They better.
Truth be told, I don't really like watching the basketball at the Olympics.
I I was more whatever the last. What was the last Olympics? That was 21, or it was 2020.
Yeah,
so
it was in
the summer of
2021.
21.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I remember.
correct.
I remember caring. Maybe because I was in college and I had nothing else to do. But
I like the Olympics, but I'm saying specifically these. Flag football in general does very little for me. You know what sport is amazing every time you get to the Olympics? Beach volleyball. You like
curling.
You don't. I like curling, but that's different Olympics.
Yeah.
At the Summer Olympics, every time you get back to it, you find yourself being reminded of how cool beach volleyball is. And there's no way to explain it, right? Because it's not. There's only two people. There can't be that much strategy involved. But it's fun, man, and seeing everybody dive around and keep you dig it. I enjoy watching volleyball at the Olympics too. But I really enjoy watching beach volleyball at the Olympics because they're also very attractive people and very, very small.
I always like cross-country skiing, too. I don't know why.
Okay, that's weird. Again, you
enjoyed
keep bringing
that.
up the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
We're
why.
talking
I
about
like
the
Winter
Summer Olympics, which are the ones this year.
Right. Well, we still got time before those happen.
I don't think that I will be invested in flag football in the Olympics. I don't think that will be something that will get me going. I mean, I
definitely have to check it out.
You can enjoy that. I'll let you be our flag football reporter.
Okay. Are you going to send me?
It's not, no.
Yeah?
It's not this year anyway, right? It's not until 28, I don't think.
Oh,
I don't
that's
think
when flag football,
this
okay.
Olympics,
All
I don't
right.
think they're going to have them anyway. But yeah, he asked me that question. I thought about it for a second. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll watch flag football in the Olympics, right? And then I stopped and I was like, no, I don't think I will. I was Captain America. No, I don't think I will. I was like, I don't see myself caring about flag football. It's good for them. They get to be involved, but if the NFL players are involved, then the U.S. will just win by 1 billion. And if they're not involved, then
maybe they'll set up some storylines for they lose.
It's like watching
28.
Every time you get back and you're like, am I going to watch Olympic baseball? And then you realize how absurd it is that they're doing this. They're like, hey, we're going to have the best athletes in the world and then a beer league baseball tournament. You're like, they've got career minor leaguers, guys who definitely aren't good enough. And they're like, let's go do a tournament with these guys and pretend like it's the best athletes in the world.
Should they stop the MLB season?
I mean, they never will.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it'd be the only way. I've said before.
Like they did a 2-week.
It's problematic. I'll never, as much as you guys want the World Baseball Classic to be a thing because you get to that time of year and like you want to get your juices flowing. It's not a thing. It's not a real competition. The pitchers aren't allowed to pitch. Like, it's not legitimate in any way. There is nothing legitimate about the World Baseball Classic. It's neat, and the people that are involved seem like they're having a good time, but it's an exhibition. That's all it is. And that's all that, if you let the real players participate in the Olympics, it'd be the same problem. No one will ever allow their pitcher to throw in 7 innings in a baseball game that doesn't involve their team. It's just not going to happen. So I don't even know what to say.
So you're not watching the Olympics is what you're saying?
No, I like the Olympics. That's the goofy. Like the swimming, every time you get relay swimming is one of the coolest television sports there is. It's so hard to explain. Everybody always has the memories of what happened in the one relay when Michael Phelps was trying to protect his 8 gold medals, and it was the most ridiculous thing that we've ever seen in sports. Relay swimming is always really good. Always really good. The handball is compelling to watch, even though the U.S. sucks. It's a legitimate tennis. I get out of nowhere. I get the 5th most important tennis tournament of the year. Just pops up in the middle of the summer for no reason. I love the Olympics. I just have to be realistic about it. I don't know how we got here because that wasn't what the topic
flag
was.
Football.
It was flag football. Yes, flag football was the topic.
You love the Pro Bowl. That's
yes, big Pro Bowl guy over here. I can't help but watch. And now we shift into
Dan Orlovsky was making these quarterbacks on the skills challenge.
Neat for Dan Orlovsky.
Look,
good. Okay.
Pedestrian.
Who cares? So,
Someone's got to go sign him.
Does that get him something?
Might be the backup to Brock Purdy.
Probably not. Probably not the case. So, yes, that shifts us into what becomes Super Bowl week. And in a lot of broadcast media, this is their Super Bowl. Hey. We obviously have no interest. This is the difficult part for what we do, is that Super Bowl storylines are usually good even for local media, even for local broadcast companies talking about these storylines. I have the fatigue that the rest of you have. we're just not there. Will we watch? Yeah, of course. It's the last football game of the year. What are we going to do, not watch? I think that for the most part, Ravens fans feel inclined to root for the 49ers, but it's like a really soft root for it's as soft gets. It's like yeah, we don't want them, and I guess that means we have to want them. But we don't actually want them either. It's a weird vibe. Oh my God, I'll be the one to do it today. It's a weird vibe because embracing the Brock Purdy story seems like, again, the most embraceable part about the Super Bowl, but it requires you to revisit the thing we were just discussing a couple of weeks ago, where Brock Purdy was considered the leading MVP candidate, and with all due respect to Brock Purdy, we all know. And so, like, being super effusive in your praise of Brock Purdy is not something that we're inclined to do. I had a moment last night. I did watch the Grammys. I like music. I watch the Grammys every year. I don't watch most award shows. I take that back. I used to be a big award show person. I'm out. The Academy Awards, there's 4 awards that you care about and 3 hours of nonsense, of dreck. It might be that there's nothing else to watch this year, so I happen to flip it. I don't know, but
I feel like I did feel that. Like, it was like there is nothing going on last night, which I guess is always that first Sunday.
Oh, it's bleak, man. Sunday nights are bleak. Yeah. Bleak. It is just not anything going on until you get to the NBA playoffs. Like, until the NCAA tournament, NBA playoffs. Or if the Orioles will have a couple more Sunday night games this year, so that'll help, right? But, like, unless your team is playing on a Sunday night, there's no baseball game that you just care about so badly that you're looking forward to Sunday night. Those 2 teams have played 2 other games that weekend. If you really cared all that deeply about it, you could have watched the other games. You don't. You don't care all that deeply about 2 random baseball teams playing a game. It's just, you can't. Sorry, it's not a sport that can do that. Oh. You don't care about it with regular season basketball either. Like, unless it's your team. If your team is playing in the game, and I don't know who you're. I mean, there's like 6 Wizards fans in this area. There's like 6 Wizards fans in the world.
Who should I pick this year
to be your basketball team?
Yeah,
you can jump on the Suns bandwagon. They scored 140 yesterday against the Wizards.
So Hawks aren't any good this year, are they?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
That guy Trae Young, I like him.
I do like Trae Young. I am a fan of Trae Young's work. But it's bleak, right? So I watched the Grammys last night, and I had a moment where it struck me that the parallel is Taylor Swift's Brock Purdy. And like this is what we celebrate. And it's a conversation that I'm not really qualified to have about like mediocre white performers who are celebrated like they are iconic talents. Taylor Swift ain't that. She's a good singer. She's not a great singer. She's good. But look around, man. Like, do you think Taylor Swift is Mariah Carey? Beyonce? People who have natural gifts and abilities that they were born with, and that's the Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson thing. Like, football players were furious about the comparison between Brock Purdy and Lamar Jackson because they're like, dude, no disrespect, that guy's fine. But this guy has God-given talent and ability that is so much more significant than this person. Taylor Swift is Brock Purdy. She's a game manager.
She's a system pop star.
Her songs are, they used to be. She doesn't make good songs anymore. The Anti-Hero was good. That was a good song. But it's laughable. I mean, like, they're giving her album of the year when, like, it's not even in the top 10. She's the game manager that people have embraced. It's that we decided we like this thing. We just like it. We like the formula. We like the system. We like it, so it kind of doesn't matter anymore. We just think that everything that she does is great. She's Brock Purdy. She's passable. She's not offensive to the senses. Like, oh, yeah, there's old Taylor again. Whereas everybody else is doing things that are like maybe a little avant-garde, maybe a little bit different. They're like, whoa, I don't know. She just kind of continues to exist and be that person. And I don't care. I don't care nearly enough about this. Like in the moment, I cared. By today, I don't actually care about the Grammy Awards.
Who should have won it? Olivia Rodrigo?
Olivia Rodrigo definitely was better, but I think SZA probably should have won Album of the Year.
Okay, yeah.
Like, by the way, it wasn't a great. You know, it's the other part too. The last night's nominees were not great. I don't know what happened there. Like, I finally looked at him and I was like, wow, what? This was a weird year. Like that Miley Cyrus song is not that good.
I love Flowers.
It's fine. It's like the Harry Styles stuff that's won the last couple years. It's all fine. It's not transcendent in any way. It's fine. Like they might all be game managers at this point. They might all be Brock Purdy's. Like none of the nominees, and maybe that's the problem, is the only way to get nominated is just to be a game manager. SZA did something that was truly unique and artistic and special, and SZA probably should have won. The Billie Eilish song, everybody tells me how great it is. And I'm like, guys, I just don't. It's not. Like, I think it was a good fit for the movie. I think it worked. But it's not that great of a song. It's melodic. It fits right with what we're honoring anymore. I don't know what happened.
The Spider-Verse album up for anything?
No.
I guess maybe that'll be an Oscars thing.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Barbie thing will win the Oscars.
Yeah, right,
that's
too.
the way it's gone. Yeah, I just sort of had that moment watching the Grammys where I'm like, it's Brock Purdy. That's what it is. Taylor Swift is Brock Purdy. And we just all decided that's what we like. We like not when I say we, I don't mean me. Like, it's consistent. It's there. It doesn't, Dreck. Just Dreck. All right, we'll come back in. I bet I'll be the only guy making that comparison today.
Yeah.
When we come back in, we'll talk more about
Sorry,
Corbin.
I'm not more worked up.
Yeah, again, it requires me to actually care. When I'm watching the Grammys, I get mad. I care. And then 5 minutes later, I just don't give a rat's ass.
To your point about watching the award shows, I know I'll see everything I need on Twitter.
Right, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. The fast car thing.
Yeah.
It was neat. It needed much less of Luke Combs and much more of Tracy Chapman.
Whoa.
Like, all due respect to that guy, his cover is totally fine. He's not in like, she's here, he's here. He's above zero. Like, it's not a bad cover.
Everybody loves Luke Combs.
Tracy Chapman's here. Like, you're swimming in different waters, Chief. Every moment she's not singing is a wasted moment. I feel like there was something else that I enjoyed from last night, but I can't.
Miley Cyrus performed, right?
Yeah. That song's fine. It's fine. Fantasia Barrino doing Proud Mary was wonderful. That was outstanding. The In Memoriam at the Grammys. All right, we're not gonna be able to take a break. We're gonna run out of time here.
Okay.
The In Memoriam. Yeah, you really screwed this up. The In Memoriam at the Grammys is always very good. Like, this year was very good because it's always very good. What's her face? Annie Lennox doing Nothing Compares to You was wonderful. That was outstanding. It's just, it was all kind of to me. Like, it had its moments. The awards were bad, but they're kind of always bad. I feel like the Grammys would be better if they just got rid of the awards. Like, just don't give out any awards. Just don't do that. Like, invite a bunch of people that make good music during the course of the year. Let them play some songs. Recognize people that passed away. Do that whole deal. And don't screw it up by giving out awards because you guys can't handle that anymore. Like, it's not something you're capable of doing. I saw somewhere last night that Taylor Swift has now won the same number of Album of the Year awards as Stevie Wonder, and that is bat-ass insane. Like, Stevie Wonder is one of the most talented humans that has ever lived. And made the greatest music of this and any generation. It's laughable.
Maybe she's Tom Brady, and we're just not willing to accept it yet.
No. There's a weird, because Tom Brady got better with age. Like, she's actually
still young in her career.
She made some good music for a little while. There was a stretch in there where she was making memorable good music. That stretch ended. Today's show, I actually don't like this part of the program. Today's show is brought to you by Superbook. You're thinking about betting the big game this week. The place to do it is Superbook. yes, your team's not involved, and that's a bummer, but that doesn't mean you can't still make money. What are you doing with your life? The number has gone up to 49ers -2 during the course of the week, and there's about 1 billion props available for you. Will either team score 4 straight times? No, a significant favorite at -350. Will either team score in the first 7.5 minutes of the game? Yes, is a -170 favorite. Find them all right now, superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. The Baltimore Orioles made a trade last week that shook up the baseball world. Obviously, we're very excited about the acquisition of Corbin Burnes. So what exactly is it that the Orioles are getting this season? Let's head out to Milwaukee, where their color analyst and former catcher Bill Schroeder is with us now here on GCR. Bill, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Well, I was actually born in Baltimore.
I didn't know that.
A year and a half. The first year and a half of my life in Baltimore, some of the happiest days of my life. And, I have a soft spot in my heart for Baltimore. I played at Memorial Stadium and a little upset with you all because I had the Ravens winning the Super Bowl.
We don't want to talk about that, Bill. We really don't. Yeah, it was great. It was great news for us last week that we went from that likely being the topic of conversation in town for a couple weeks to very quickly having much more exciting things for us to discuss. It was good. It was good news for us. Bill,
right. Well,
Bill, when we all know that Corbin Burnes is good. I'm going to ask you to try to define how good is Corbin Burnes. Like for
I'm sorry. Not only is he one of the best pitchers in the big leagues. He's a guy that will take the ball every fifth day. He doesn't miss starts. I think the last time that he was actually on the injured list, he was on the COVID list in 21. He's taking the ball every single time, whether it be last day of the season or what have you. He wants the baseball. He's got the best cutter. I know you got that Class A kid in Cleveland, but as far as average velocity on the cutter, Corbin Burnes second to nobody. And he's a student of the game. He's a perfectionist, and he makes everybody around him better. Every time he takes the mound, you expect to be in a good position to win. He very rarely has a bad start, and that's what you're getting. You're getting a former Cy Young Award winner and a guy that he has a way of just instilling a lot of confidence in the whole roster when he's out there on the mound.
There, a point has been made that the numbers were so insane a couple of years ago that the last 2 years the numbers have actually gone slightly the other way. However, in the second half of last year, he appeared to pitch his best. Is this just a case of like when you have a season that's as insane as his 2021 season was? It's going to be very difficult for even the greatest pitcher to replicate that. And the point is, he's still insanely good and better than most everybody else.
No doubt. And he gives you a chance to win every day. I mean, that season that he won the Cy Young Award, it was just off the charts every time, he went out to the mound. I mean, he never really made any mistakes. And when he did, he grinded over it, for 4 days. He gave up, I think, 8 home runs that year. That was it. And you're talking about pitching in a ballpark, American Family Field. That could be a bandbox when it's summertime. So, it's tough for any hitter or even a pitcher to live up to what he was able to do in his Cy Young Award season. But still, he's better than most. Corbin Burnes, when he's at about 75%, is probably better than most pitchers in the big leagues. And what you get in Corbin Burnes is a number one starter. The reason the Brewers didn't want to give him up, but they felt that the value right now is the best for what Matt Arnold was trying to do. We get 2 pretty good players, DL Hall and Joey Ortiz, they're both gonna have a big impact on the season this year. So you get two young big leaguers in a process where the Brewers are feeling though that they weren't going to be able to sign Corbin, and they get something pretty good out of him. So. Did they want to get rid of him? No, but I think the writing was on the wall that they weren't going to be able to sign him. So you guys get a bona fide number one starter and a potential Cy Young Award winner.
Bill Schroeder with us here on GCR. Baltimore native, as we're chatting about the new Orioles pitcher Corbin Burnes. Bill, the person that Corbin Burns is, and what he's going to bring to what, again, it looks like he'll probably only be here for a year. He kind of confirmed that in an interview on Friday that he wants to get the free agency, and we'll see. Maybe new ownership of the Orioles will just attempt to bowl him over, but the assumption is he's here for a year. What kind of impact can he have on this group of Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish and Dean Kramer and these young pitchers in Baltimore that we've already seen such good things from, but might be able to take a next step towards being, top of the rotation guys themselves?
He's always looking. We get shots of him in the dugout with the other starters during games, and they're holding baseballs and grips, and he and Wade Miley and Freddie Peralta and Woodruff, when he was with the team, and he's always looking to improve himself and other guys. I mean, if anybody on that roster that you have that you mentioned, could come up with a cutter, Corbin Burns is probably the best guy to teach him, what he does with that cut fastball. I mean, he throws in the upper 90s, and he's willing to help. He's a student of the game. I mean, the way he grinds through every one of his pitches after games. I mean, he will go through it. It's not the result, whether it was a hit or an out. It was, did I throw this pitch exactly where I wanted to? And if I didn't, why did I not do that? I mean, he analyzes to an extent that I've never seen before, but he doesn't overanalyze. He's still athletic out there on the mound. And if something's not working for him, there were times when the cutter wasn't working for him. He came up with a two-seamer. The curveball was a good pitch for him. So he's a guy that is not stubborn in the fact that, you go through a scouting report and say, I'm going to get cutters. So if his cutter's not working that day, he's going to be flexible enough, and his catchers should be flexible enough to understand that. But you're getting a guy that, I think that when his playing days are over, he could certainly be a guy that would be perfect in the minor leagues to teach young pitchers. I don't know if he's going to want to do that, but and the other thing about Corbin is, I mean, even in his Cy Young Award season and, seasons beyond, he's always willing to talk to the media, the press. He's not condescending. He's not a guy that's going to come up to you and start a big chat, but if you corner him and you talk to him on the field, he will give you as much time as you want. So you got to respect that out of a guy like Corbin.
No question about that. Moving to the American League, a lot is made about, hey, now you're facing the AL East, but his numbers in his career against the AL have been pretty good. Is there any trepidation for you at all in thinking that could be an impact, him jumping over to the AL?
No, I think that the AL East is on guard. Clown Corbin Burns is afraid of anybody. I don't think he's afraid of any team. I mean, I think he likes to compete against the best. And when you're talking about, the Baltimore Orioles, I mean, it was 101 wins last year. I mean, fantastic season. I think you guys surprised a lot of people. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I mean, there's going to be a target on their backs this year because they did have such a good season. So when you add a Corbin Burns, I think that this adds a lot of confidence to the whole roster. So I think that the American League East is should be concerned that you guys have added a big time starter.
Yeah, we're really excited about it, Bill. Like we are losing our minds here. Can I ask on the other side, because D.L. Hall is going to join us a little bit later on today, who I like. You mentioned earlier that the opportunity that was in front of the Brewers. I assume this is as simple as it, and I know a lot has been made about, hey, why go out and sign Rhys Hoskins and then turn around and trade away Corbin Burns? Is it as simple as it's a really uphill battle for this team to have won a World Series, and it's important to try to maximize what it is that you can get? That's just the nature of the way that team like the Brewers has to compete, and I guess what is the thought process for them in why acquiring D.L. Hall and Joey Ortiz made sense to make this trade at this point?
Brewers want to make the playoffs again. It's been it's been a good run for them. Matt Arnold has always had a reputation, as you well probably know, with the Tampa Bay Rays, is a guy that likes to acquire young talent. Look what the Tampa Bay Rays were able to do. They had a few down years, but they have been really good. They have been really good since, in large part with some of the decisions that Matt Arnold did make. Now, for the Brewers, I mean, this is not a rebuild. This is a retool, and I think that Matt Arnold got a sense that, the value for Corbin Burnes is at its highest right now. I mean, the longer you wait to trade a guy like, Corbin Burnes, you wait to the trading deadline, you're not going to probably get as much as you would if you trade him to the Baltimore Orioles. You get two bona fide big leaguers like DL Hall and Joey Ortiz. So you sign Rhys Hoskins because, the middle of the infield and, the outfield is looking good for the Brewers, but they needed some power on the corners. Now, I know Hoskins missed, last year with an injury, but he's got the power. He's the first baseman that's going to hit. And the Brewers are, by no stretch of the imagination, are looking to rebuild. I mean, that's not a term that you're ever going to hear in Milwaukee, but it's a retool. And these two guys that you got from the Baltimore Orioles are going to be a big part of that down the road.
You didn't do anything to make me less excited about Corbin Burnes, Bill. You didn't do anything there to make me. I can't even imagine what it must have been like for these last few years. I bring it up all the time, and you worked with great pitchers, but what it does for a team, what it does for a city, to know, as you brought up, that every fifth day that guy is going out, and that's the guy. That's the dude. And we haven't had that guy in Baltimore since Mike Messina. That's how long it's been since we've had that guy. And the impact that it has on every ounce of the franchise, it just has to be overwhelming, and I think is what we're most excited about.
Well, and that's the thing. There's nothing you're not going to like about Corbin. I mean, I've been with the Brewers for now. This will be my 30th year doing TV, and he's a bulldog. I mean, the guy he's serious when he goes out there. He wants to compete, and you're going to love having this guy on your team. And it's not just when your leaders are your best players, and your leaders take the ball every fifth day, or your leaders, position players, are playing every day like a Prince Fielder used to do. He would never want to take a day off, and he would never want to come out of the lineup when the Brewers were either up by 10 or down by 10. He refused to come out. So that's the kind of guy Burnes is. No matter what the situation is, he's going to take the ball. And what he does in between starts as well. I mean, the work that he puts in has a big impact on some of these young guys you're going to have on your team.
Bill, really appreciate taking the time for us this morning. Thanks so much for doing it. And we'll look forward to it won't be long into the season before we're giving you a call to talk about the first matchup between Corbin Burnes and his old friends.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bill Schroeder with us here on GCR, Brewers color analyst and former catcher. When we come back in, we'll catch up with Jeremy Kahn. The last time we talked to him, none of these things had happened. So we'll have a lot to discuss with our buddy Jeremy Kahn next here on Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right. Oh, I need my mic on. Yeah, that's important. Griffin was making some personnel changes over there for a second. I think I'm still around. I think that's the case. Goose Flights Lager is available right now in so many locations around town. So you can get cans at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. You can get cans at Alonzo's in Roland Park. You can get cans at the Green Turtle Bet Parks Sportsbook, and I know our next guest is a fan of that establishment. You can get cans and 6-packs at Costas Inn in Dundalk, as well as at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. And you can get 6-packs and cases at the Wine Source in Hamden, and that list is expected to grow. Goose Flights Lager available now, and on top of being a delicious beer, perfect for your big game party this weekend, it's also a great cause, as $1.98 from every can sold will go to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation. It was the vision of the late, great Tony Siragusa, and it has been carried on by his family. His daughter, Sammy, is running the foundation to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. Goose Flights Lager available now. Available now here on GCR. Our friend Jeremy Kahn, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, Green Turtle sports betting ambassador, and also, of course, ConcreteLocks.com. What's going on, brother? How are you?
And one time is one Miss Florence Levine at a very nice establishment. So anyway.
Ooh. Let's talk more. How
was your weekend?
Not as exciting as yours. Hey man, so you and I haven't talked since this all started last Tuesday. We had a completely different conversation. And I know that you and I don't normally like talking sports, but I think everybody knows your love of the Orioles, how important they are to you. It's really your first love as a sports fan. This week, I've tried, because on Tuesday night when everything broke, I was trying to be the one to be responsible about it and reasonable. Hey, let's see how this goes. Let's not get too carried away. Let's remember the baseball team did win 101 games last year. You don't want to. And then within 2 days, I found myself being, I will worship at the altar of David Rubenstein. This is the greatest moment in my life. How are you feeling about the events of the past week?
Well, I changed religions. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm all aboard, man.
Yeah,
whatever you can think of.
You're in the tribe.
I joined the tribe. Look, you can't be an Oriole fan and not be excited about everything that just happened. I mean, from something as simplistic as it starts off as the team's getting sold, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that means, but I know I'm happy about it. This guy is a little bit more wealthy than those guys. He seems like he's an Oriole fan, and you feel like you're going to spend money. And then, boom, a day later, you trade for one of the best pitchers in baseball. And then you look at what you gave up, and it's very favorable. Even though I like Ortiz and DL Hall, I think they're going to be good major leaguers, but they weren't the cream of the crop of what you had. And let's be honest, Ortiz was blocked. I don't know how you didn't go from 6 to midnight hearing all that, unless you were a lady. And then on top of it, man, you look at all the other stuff, and what it means the most to me is that there's a chance that Jackson, Gunnar, and Adley, maybe 2 of them, maybe all 3, end up staying in Baltimore for a lengthy period of time if they turn out to be what we expect. And I think we already know they're going to be.
That one's still difficult for me, honestly, because just the sheer timing of it all, with Adley now only being a year away from arbitration and having already made money. I don't know where his camp is, and we all know the story on Gunnar and Jackson. They're both Scott Boras clients, and that is particularly difficult to try to get done. So I'm trying not to measure my excitement by whether or not that happens, because I want it to be like a pleasant surprise if it does and not disappoint me if it doesn't. But I think the point is that, like, hey, in the future, there's a greater chance for these types of things to happen. And the nobody thinks the Orioles are suddenly going to become the Dodgers. It's just that, like, being somewhere close to the league average would be really nice. And I think that the big thing, and I'm writing about it at Press Box today, this is the type of move that the Orioles should be able to make. Like, the last ownership should have been able to make this move. That's the part. And I know Mike Elias said all the right things, like, well, John Angelos was the control person. Like, come on, man. Like, we're not going to –
Well, you know what he's trying to do there. It's like, okay, so some people aren't going to believe that Angelos had any doings in this. I still believe they were talking to the Brewers since last year, but until this team was about to be sold, I don't think Angelos wanted any moves going down with an expiring contract.
Correct. And this is where this is the type of move when you have the team. We all go back to how they absolutely bungled at every level the Manny Machado situation. They had options. There were 3 options that were on the table. Like, you could extend him, you could trade him when his value was at the highest, or you could go all in to try to win when you had him. And somehow they did none of those 3 things. And any of those things were legitimate options. You could attempt to pull off any of those 3 things, and they went 0 for 3. And whatever ends up happening with this core of Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Jackson Holliday, one of the options is recognize this is your timetable and go all in. Go try to win during this 5-year stretch that you have. And it's not 5 anymore with Adley, but you know what I mean. Like, go if you can't get them to sign long-term, go all in and try to put the best possible team on the field that you can in order to win. This is a move that any ownership group should be able to see and should be able to make work. And if that's the bare minimum of what you can expect from David Rubenstein's group, that's a huge win for me. Like, just that's it. This is such an easy move to make. You got a logjam of talent at middle infield. You need a starting pitcher. It all works out. This is always something that a baseball team should be capable of doing.
Oh, there's no question. And I mean, I still get excited hearing John Paul Morosi go. Still, and the Cease thing is obviously going to cost you more because he's got an extra year. But like you look at the type of player you're getting, the age. Like Burns had his worst year ever, and he was still the second best pitcher in the National League.
Right.
So like if that doesn't get you excited, like maybe he has his second worst year ever, and he ends up as the 4th best pitcher in the American League. I'd take it. And he's coming to a better ballpark. He's coming to a team with a better defense, in my opinion. So I think he's only going to get better. But all this, like, it's a reason to be excited when there's all this stuff going on with the Ravens that doesn't make you excited. You know, like losing that playoff game, what Harbaugh had to say at the press conference didn't really make sense to me. And then on top of it, Mike McDonald's now in Seattle. You've got defensive coaches that are in, Miami and Tennessee now as well. So you've got a lot of things that you got to replace. But with the Orioles, man, it does feel like liftoff.
What is the difference? Like, okay, so look at this team right now. Their ability to win a World Series. What's standing between the Orioles at the moment and their ability to win a World Series this year?
I do think that the way that they're constructed on paper right now, they are the best team in the American League, and that is adding a Jackson Holliday at shortstop, to which he's been compared to A-Rod. So I've told people, go look at what A-Rod did his rookie year, and if he gets anything close to that, like it's like, oh my God, they traded for a great hitter and a great pitcher, and what you're adding into your lineup this year. The only thing I think, is experience. Did they get enough? Like, people bring that up all the time. I don't know how much it matters until it matters, getting tight in the game. But they've all played baseball at a really high level. So I think the only thing getting in their way is injuries or themselves.
I still have concerns about the back end of the bullpen, right? Like, that's the part.
Yeah.
That's the part about, as much as I think it was a no-brainer to make the trade that they made, I am not as enamored about the idea of Craig Kimbrell as a lot of other people are. I think that he is a liability to some extent at this point in his career, and I mean that in context, right? Like, I don't think he stinks, but I don't know.
But he's not Batista.
Right. And how many times during the week are you counting on Craig Kimbrell? And I thought that you needed to have closer B available to you. And to me, D.L. Hall was going to be closer B for this team this season. And maybe Tyler Wells could end up being that guy, although he certainly doesn't have the pure stuff fastball-wise, that DL Hall has. So I got to see what that looks like. I'm still a little bit nervy about the back end of the bullpen with no Felix Bautista there. I still feel like they could use one more like legit thumper. And I know that's difficult because you don't even know what the spot is that's available for that. But I feel like there could be one more power bat. Like how many?
But let me throw this at you while you're doing it. Like, how confident are you that they would go get that guy at the trade deadline now?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that there's more of an opportunity to do that in the bullpen, right?
Okay.
Like in the bullpen, if something isn't working early on in the season, I have more confidence, in their ability to find someone within the system that they look at and say, we think that there's something there that you don't. They have proven that part of this, that they have a kind of a special sauce in taking an arm and making them a strong bullpen arm. The other part of it, I hear you, that this now ownership group says, hey, if that's the problem, go do it. Go find that big bat in the middle of the lineup. And they might be saying, hey, we want to give Heston Kjerstad a chance to prove that he is that, or we want to give – but that'd be the one thing that I look at and say, outside of Santander, whose home run power do you – there's a lot of guys that can hit home runs, but who else do you fear in this lineup, their ability to hit home runs?
Yeah, so to your point, I mean, the scary part is like Gunner's doubles will turn into home runs. Does it take a year or two? I mean, he's already bigger and stronger. I think he's going to get there. We haven't seen Jackson Holiday at the major league level, but I also think that's a guy you end up fearing because of power. Mountcastle has been inconsistent, even though, there's power there. But ultimately, I think things start to get weird for this team when they start deciding whether or not these are guys that are going to be here for the future of this ball club, meaning what happens with Cedric Mullins if he doesn't improve at the plate.
Right.
We don't see him take a step forward. Mountcastle, very inconsistent. So could he be a trade piece to get better there, or is Adley eventually going to move to first when Baseo's ready? Or are they going to all – you know what I mean? Like there's all different types of things that could happen down the line, but ultimately those are things that you have to consider. So, I think you made a great point about the bullpen probably being the one part of this team. But in the back of my mind, and that's why I asked you the question, is that I do feel like this team is ripe to make a move to go get somebody if they needed them now, as opposed to in years past where it's like, I hope we get someone, and it's like, it's Fujinama.
Yeah,
So,
correct. Yeah, that's who you can go get. And it's fun for a day, and then you're like, oh, right. This is what we're capable of giving. No, the point, and I think the micro of Corbin Burns is important. The macro is so much more important than that is what you're bringing up. It's the belief that this means if this is the first thing you're doing, then there's probably more things that you're willing to do. And that's what makes this so exciting and adds the level of what we're feeling as Orioles fans.
And the other cool part of this, and I'm sure you brought it up, is that if Corbin Burns walks at the end of the year, they get a similar draft pick back.
Correct.
That they traded away. Yeah. So, in essence, you traded a year. That's the worst-case scenario, is that he walks at the end of the year. You get something back, which I think is awesome as well.
And he kind of confirmed that in the interview that he did with the Foul Territory on Friday. He kind of confirmed, look, man, I'm going to free agency. That's it's short of somebody bowling you over. And who knows, maybe that's what David Rubenstein and his group are going to be, is the group that wants to bowl people over. But I don't have an issue with that. And I said that the night of the deal. If somehow they were to sign him, it might go down as one of the greatest trades in baseball history, but I'm not measuring it based on that. It was a no-brainer move to make when you have an opportunity to win right now, and you had a problem with all of these infielders. You did not have the opportunity. Joey Ortiz is 26 years old, and there was no path for him. And I love Joey Ortiz.
He might be the oldest, best glove in the minor leagues,
Right.
So.
I love Joe. I think Joey Ortiz is a heck of a baseball player. But there just wasn't an opportunity for him here. It wasn't going to happen. And so you had to do something. And in doing that, you got Corbin Burns. Even if it's for a year, 1,000% on board. 1,000%. It was the correct move to make. And I am good with it. Jeremy Kahn is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. So do you care at all about the Grammys? Does it do anything for you? Do you ever watch?
I don't usually watch. I don't care about it. I'm sorry, I'm driving next to somebody who doesn't know how to drive. They're in two different lanes, and I'm losing my mind. I'm going to see my grandfather. It just really pissed me off. I don't know if you heard my horn in the background. The guy's driving in the middle of two lanes, and he won't get over to one of them. Pick one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And the question again was, I'm losing my mind. What did you just ask
me? The Grammys. Do you care
Grammys.
even a little bit?
Yeah, I do, because I love music, man.
Yep.
It's been it's a big part of my life. I don't always watch the Grammys, but I watch a lot of the recaps. anybody knows me knows that for a while there, I think for about a 3-month period, I was getting super high, getting in the tub and listening to Tracy Chapman's Fast Car on a loop. So I love those two playing together, her and Luke Combs. There's a lot that I like about the Grammys, and I don't care who gets the awards. Like, that means nothing to me because, you know, sometimes you're looking at some of this stuff and going, I don't know anything about this person. But again, like, there's the politics of who gets awards, who doesn't. None of that bothers me, but I just like seeing the artists. I like
feel
seeing
like
them
they
in their
should
element
stop.
performing.
They should just stop giving away awards. Like I had that like moment last night where I said the awards are by far the worst part of this.
It should just be a celebration of music. That's
bingo.
all it should be.
Just people that made memorable music during the course of the year, bring them all together, have them perform with each other, celebrate people that passed away, do that whole thing. Like the Fantasia Barrino Proud Mary thing was awesome. And Annie Lennox doing Nothing Compares to You was beautiful. I don't know if you took any – did you take any tips watching that?
Did they have to find another bald chick? Is that what it was? Or was it just –
I think that's what it was.
Is that part of it?
I think that was part of the deal. I think that was part of the deal. No, I thought it was all great, but the awards stink. Like they never get them right. They never, ever, ever get the they gave Outkast Album of the Year once. It's like the only time in the modern history of music that they've gotten it right.
Well, it turns these people into enemies too, which is so funny. Like to me, where like if you read Ed Sheeran's lips after Taylor Swift said something, he basically said, well, he didn't. He said BS, like mouthed the words out of her, like whoever she was thanking the other artist, and it's like, because like people know like certain artists don't like other ones, or it comes out. Like if you were watching the We Are the World documentary, which is amazing.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
You find out about the Prince and Michael Jackson hatred of one another and how bad it was, and then when they actually performed it live, Prince wouldn't sing, which was just so crazy because they wouldn't let him play guitar solo.
He said,
We Are the World.
I'll come do a guitar solo in another room. I'll come in another room and do the guitar. By the way, I'm so glad you brought that up because after the Grammys, that was what I watched last night because I was all like high on music at that moment. There is, I think Uproxx did a power ranking of the top 5 performers from We Are the World and the doc, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would like, if you haven't watched, it's called The Greatest Night in Pop. It's available on Netflix. And it's wonderful. And I'm realizing that they need to do more of these, like just in case the music that you're making turns out to be iconic. And We Are the World the song isn't really all that iconic. Just the concept, the idea, and the talent involved was iconic. But like watching that Beatles thing where you're like watching the music get made, they should do more of that because
I wish. Oh my God, I'll watch that nonstop.
That's what I'm saying. Like every iconic piece of music, if you could take me back to how it was made and let me watch as it's unfolding, like that moment in Get Back where literally he just starts strumming Get Back, and you're like, holy crap! Like you're watching this thing happen. It's just so unbelievable. But give me because I had a strong – I actually thought that Uproxx did a good list when they power ranked, but there was one – who would be your top 3? The top for the entirety of it, for what they added musically and what they added to the vibe and all of it within the documentary. Who would be your top 3 people from We Are the World?
Oh, my God. Well, number 1, Dan Aykroyd.
Yes, Dan Aykroyd added a ton, just standing there, clearly knowing he did not belong. I actually give Dan Aykroyd a lot of credit for like being maybe the most self-confident person in that room. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm just going to keep going with it. Like, I will sing along. There is no reason why I'm here. There is no...
I really believe we are the world.
Correct.
And we are the children.
100%.
It's so hard for me to sit. So Prince and Michael got it. Michael's got to be number 1.
Okay,
me. I mean,
I have a different argument for number 1.
Okay.
What they
Are you going to put like Quincy or somebody at number 1?
No, Quincy was it's a strong argument, by the way. They did not include Quincy in their rankings, but strong argument.
Okay.
If you watch the doc, really the role he had as coach of all of that, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Number 1.
I know you got Harry Belafonte up there.
Harry Belafonte is wonderful, but they didn't give him a solo. So like I don't know what to do with that.
And by the way, Huey Lewis knocked it out of the park with his solo.
10.5. Huey Lewis is
great.
absolutely top 5 to me. Absolutely top 5 to me, Huey Lewis. And I didn't know the story that was supposed to be Prince's part, and he was like genuinely nervous. Like the fact that all these people cared this much about this thing is amazing, right? Like
God, there's so many good artists, and I guess it just depends on who's affected. Give me your number 1. Those 2 would definitely be in my top 3.
I forgot until watching it. Because again, the song is campy, and it's like and I was too young for it to matter to me the same way.
You're not going to give me Bob Dylan, are you?
Nope. Cyndi freaking Lauper, man.
Well, she was great on that, but are you talking about overall, like
but
artist
all of
and what
it.
she's meant?
No,
Okay.
not like her career. I mean, in what she did for the song and for the room and the whole thing, and her like just sort of kind of in the background, like being unassuming, and then stepping up and doing the well, like, oh my God, man, like it blew me the F away. And then they had
and
to do
then
it.
it almost pushed the other people to go. I see what
Right.
you're saying about that. Yeah, it made them like, because she went above and beyond of what I thought she could do.
Correct.
In that song. But my other favorite part with her is when they were trying to figure out what the
And it's
what
the
hell is that
bracelets,
background
right?
noise,
Yeah.
and it's all her freaking bracelets.
Oh, it was
jewelry.
awesome. She to me was the star. Like that. I didn't know. Admittedly, I don't have like a big Cyndi Lauper place in my brain. You know, like I know girls just want to have fun. I know what's the ballad that everybody loves so badly that now all of a sudden I can't.
Good
think
Enough?
of. No.
From,
no. What the hell?
Well, Good Enough was from Goonies. But
that's
you're
right.
thinking
That's
of
right.
you're oh god.
You know
what is
exactly
it?
what I'm thinking, and why can't I think of it all of a sudden? What the hell happened to me?
I just did the same damn thing you did, and I can't think of the
Right?
name of the song.
It's gonna drive me nuts. There's I'll come up with it in 2 seconds. But you know I don't have a big.
I don't want to look it up. I want to think of it.
Time after time.
Yeah, I mean that's
Time after time. Thanks a lot, there, Pete Sampras.
Thanks.
All right. All right,
he's
I
actually
won't.
he's kind of Daryl Hall too. Actually, he's kind
Yeah,
of got that
we
going
went over
for him.
that.
Speaking of, we are the
Daryl
world.
Sampras.
Yeah, right.
Pete Hall. I like Pete Hall better.
No, she was the one because I forgot about her part in We Are the World, and she's just kind of and remember, like they positioned it at the beginning as though she was everybody. The smart people wanted Madonna, and somebody in the room was like, "No, we're gonna get Cyndi Lauper, and if we get Cyndi Lauper, we can't have Madonna." And everybody like you laugh about that in hindsight. You're like, "Ha, hell of a choice you made there. Really nailed that one, Chief." And then she comes in and knocks it the F out of the park. And I wanted to jump off the couch. I was so enamored with Cyndi Lauper's part in We Are the World. So she to me is number one on the list. And everybody else can fall in line. Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, of course, and
Daryl Hall.
And Daryl Hall. Huey Lewis, to your point. Huey Lewis also very high on the list of expectations versus what you got, man. Like, and the dude mocking Kenny Rogers' face when he hits the note. Now, I had to go back and watch the video like 5 times because watching Kenny Rogers' face when he tries to hit that note, it might be my favorite thing in the world. It looks like it looks like me pooping. Like
I like what they said to him. It's like know your boundaries, know what you can do, what you're great at. Don't try to, they were basically like saying if you're standing next to somebody that has a more powerful voice or a higher register, don't try to be them. Be you.
Right.
Know where you stay in your lane. Basically, is what they were saying, and they're saying it to like some of the greatest artists we've ever seen. And like the whole thing of that coming together. You've dealt with people that have money and have fame and have celebrity the same way I have.
Yep.
You keep them waiting like that, they get pissed off.
Dude, they were there till like 7 in the morning. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's bonkers. I did not like. I was mildly interested in this doc when I heard about it. And then I couldn't stop. Like, I was obsessed with it as I was watching it. It is that good. Go watch The Greatest Nut and Pop.
And there's a new documentary out now on Run DMC, I think.
Ooh.
Paramount or Peacock. I don't remember, but it just came out today, I think.
Ooh,
So.
I will spend some time with that. That will be high on my... I haven't watched last night's episode of Curb yet, and I need to do that. So I got a lot of things that are on.
I haven't either.
All right. What's going on at the Green Turtle, and what's going on with Big Bad Morning Show?
Yeah, so we've got a special for the big game, so people want to check it out, come down and watch the game. I'll be at Canton. We filmed the commercial this week, which I think they're putting the final touches on. I got to see it early. It looks pretty good outside of my face. Lots of people celebrating, having fun. But Big Bad Morning Show, we're all together, so we finally kind of get to break down everything that's going on with our beloved Orioles. And there's going to be a lot of that talk going on this week. And then, of course, leading into the Super Bowl and who's going to win and why and all that stuff.
Of course, ConcreteLocks.com as well with 2 N's, CONNCRETE, ConcreteLocks.com to sign up and to start getting some winners. Jeremy Kahn, Griffin is going to start coordinating with you when we're going to find the appropriate. I would like to do it somewhere around St. Patrick's Day if you think you have that in you. Like, I know it's different.
Yeah, so after the Super Bowl, I want to start setting up. I
Okay.
talked to an Englishman this weekend, which I wanted to tell you, and I told him what I was doing, and he goes, "I've never had haggis taste good."
I mean,
he said, "I'd never want to eat it. It's disgusting."
I think that's correct. I think that's the correct.
Well, you shouldn't tell me that. I got to eat it.
Dude,
and then I told him about blood sausage, and he goes, "It's gross."
Yeah, everything. I actually did try blood sausage once, and I said, "Why would anyone choose this? Why would any human being ever choose
And what
this?"
I keep forgetting what the second song I have to do.
I have to do Nothing Compares to You and Zombie.
Oh, nothing. I keep forgetting about
Yeah.
Nothing Compares to You.
That's why I said, were you taking notes from Annie Lennox last night? Like,
Oh, see, yeah, but I just thought about singing. I can't believe I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Prince's biggest song.
Yeah, that's correct. It is a Prince song. That is a fact. That is a fact. All right, buddy. Love you. We'll talk to you next Monday.
I'll see you guys.
Thanks, pal. Jeremy Kahn with us here on GCR. Speaking of, it's weird, right? Like, Jeremy and I hadn't had a chance to talk about any of that. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, and Luke Jackson haven't done theirs. The last time they did a show, it was like, let's talk about what else is going on in baseball. So they got a lot to cover when they get back together today.
Man.
Stan, Ross, and Luke every Monday, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, and they will have a lot to discuss today. When we come back in, we are going to dip into the Ravens for a minute as we will catch up with Brian McFarland, Mr. Raven salary cap himself, and sort of set the tone for decisions that have to be made and when and how everything looks going into the offseason for the Baltimore Ravens. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Orioles manager Brandon Hyde as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and the Orioles as our Team of the Year, with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark sitting down with Hyde to discuss his role in creating the culture that defined the Orioles' magic season. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2023. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Ravens, Terps, and O's at PressBoxOnline.com.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the Bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. D.L. Hall is scheduled to join us in just a little bit after he was dealt by the Orioles to the Brewers in the Corbin Burnes deal. Jeremy brought it up, I did not in that opening diatribe mention the fact that Anthony Weaver indeed did end up taking the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator position. So that's one more team that you think will be in the market for Ravens defensive players this offseason. You have 3 now that you think will be hotly in pursuit. And that's besides the fact that, like, other teams would just want good players. But it will also be interesting to see who becomes the associate head coach now moving forward. And it's one more piece of the puzzle that the Ravens will have to solve. There'll be one more moving part defensively this season for the Ravens with personnel that might also look a bit different. Let's talk more about that aspect of the conversation. Joining us now, he, of course, we try to do this every year at the offset of the offseason just to lay the foundation, what decisions have to be made when, what does this end up looking like. A year ago, it was quite cloudy because there was one thing looming over everything. This year, not the case. It's a bit more complicated because there's a ton of moving parts. From Russell Street Report, he is the man behind Ravens salary cap. He is Mr. Brian McFarland, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Brian, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody have a good morning so far?
Everything is good, man. The Orioles have provided the most pleasant distraction that we could probably have ever asked for in this city.
Yeah, boy, haven't they.
Brian, when I say where do we start, I think you understand the complicated part of what I'm asking, because it feels like the biggest storylines going into the offseason for the Ravens, as far as personnel on the cap are concerned, might be their free agents, right? Would be Patrick Queen, would be Justin Madubuike, I guess to a lesser extent Geno Stone. But I wonder if the conversation doesn't actually start with needing to get some cap space in order to consider what they might be doing with their free agents. And so does the conversation actually start with, like, Ronnie Stanley and Marlon Humphrey?
Yeah, it probably does. Those guys, Tyus Bowser's another one, a couple other guys, restructuring deals who, where best to start with those guys or which guys to start with maybe. But, yeah, Stanley's probably the bigger one because there is, his situation. I mean, Marlon's been, until this year, been relatively healthy. Obviously, Stanley's been an up and down 3 years now. The big number there is, and it's a big number, it's going to be, it's a lot of dead money, however you cut it up. It's just a question of how they want to cut it up. Stanley, if they released him before June 1, it's almost $18 million in dead money, which is a huge number, but there is over $8 million in savings. My guess, though, is they would probably do that with a post-June 1 designation, so it would actually save them $15 million on the cap this year, which they're going to need a lot of cap space, and especially if they have to use the tag on Madubuike would probably be the likely one. But that does push almost $7 million of dead money into next year, but with the cap going up, and that gives them more chance to plan around it. So that's probably what they would do if they're going to move on from him. Now they could try to go to him and ask for a haircut, right, because I'm not sure anybody's going to pay him $15 million in salary and bonus anywhere else. But they have that hammer there. I don't think they do with Humphrey. Humphrey's got another year. Humphrey's got more dead money, and it's harder to. I mean, if they cut him, if they cut him before June 1, they actually owe more money on the cap than he actually counts.
Right.
So so that's the way those two guys kind of work.
Yeah, and to your point, I would feel like they would like to do it with Stanley, and I think your point is well stated. That, like, as much as maybe Ronnie Stanley wouldn't like hearing that, maybe the ultimate hammer is you're a left tackle on the open market, and the position is so valuable that people are willing to ignore the realities of the circumstances. But the realities of the circumstances are significant, and it just doesn't feel like the open market would be the major boon that, like, maybe Ronnie Stanley would have found a couple of years ago.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's if they do ask for the haircut and a reduced salary, I think that's their option is, because with Humphrey, what are you going to threaten him to release him? I don't think the numbers work to release him. So there's no real threat there to take a pay cut. But with Stanley, there is, because like I said, I mean, between bonus and salary this year, he gets $15 million in cash. I'm not sure he's getting that anywhere else, so they can make that work with incentives and things like that. So maybe he can make the $15 million if he's healthy and plays every game next year. But otherwise, it would be a reduced number, which will help them from a cap perspective.
So if they do that one way or the other and save, let's just say it's the $9 million or so. It's like 8 and change, right, on Ronnie Stanley that they can save. And then you brought up Tyus Bowser, who presumably, whether it's a restructure or a release, it's $5.5 million there. So if you come up with that, how dramatically does that change their reality in terms of Madubuike and Queen? Like, is there any world where they could do a contract for one and tag the other, or does it really come back to there's just no way that's happening? One of those guys is going to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a tag situation, one of those guys is going to have to be gone probably, unless they do wholesale restructures, a bunch of cuts you're not expecting. They basically, I mean, they have about $10 million in cap space now, but there's so many other things that go into that before mid-March when the league year starts. They're really, they're really up against. I mean, Madubuike is going to be about tag is about $20 million. So, I mean, right there. Now, if they can get both signed to a long-term deal, that might actually work.
Brian, is there any possibility that the Ravens say we just can't? We're not. We know that the Ravens have treated the tag over the years not as trying to force someone to stick around for an extra year. They want to use it in order to sign a player. And I know it didn't work with Matt Judon, but that's traditionally how they've tried to use the tag. Is there any world in which they say, look, we love Justin Madubuike, but we just aren't going to be able to spend what it would cost to keep Justin Madubuike, and they don't end up. I mean, I guess that would be silly because you would still want to tag him to present the opportunity for a trade, but like I just wonder if I've assumed all along, well, if it's a choice between Madubuike and Queen, of course they're choosing Madubuike. He's the special player, but I wonder if they look and say, we think he's really good, but we don't know that we're ever going to pay this amount of money to him, which he could get on the open market.
I mean, that's certainly possible, and obviously if they had $50 million in cap space, it's a different conversation. But I'm sure they're going to try and get him signed, and probably the same with Queen. They will try. They could get them both signed with a first-year cap number of less than $20 million. I mean, so but obviously, when guys are about to hit the market, it's harder to get them re-signed at times. We obviously, you saw, they tagged Lamar last year, got it done later. I mean, they've done that, in the past where they've gotten done. But the other problem is if you don't get them done till the deadline in July, which was what happened with Tucker, which was what happened with Ray Rice going back, with Suggs going back. It's that just ties up your cap. So if they can somehow reach a long-term deal, they could get them both back, because if they both had roughly, $8 million first-year cap numbers, that's obviously 16. It's less than the 20 that would take to tag either of them. It's possible, but obviously then you worry about the upper years. Are you paying? Again, with Queen, are you paying him $20 million a year just like you paid Roquan?
Right.
That seems like excessive. I mean, I hate to say it, as much as they'd like to have him back.
No, of course.
And saying you're running the same thing with Madubuike. You're looking at an average of $20 million a year now. Obviously, you can make that first year cap number lower, but that's and they have to decide in their own heads is was this that kind of contract year that everybody, we've seen it with other players that happen, and then they sign elsewhere and they don't turn out to be that same player anymore. So they get that big deal. So they have to figure in their minds how Madubuike fits into that equation.
Brian McFarland, Ravens salary cap from Russell Street Report, is with us here on GCR. Brian, I'm remiss because I didn't bring up the name Morgan Moses. Should we assume at this point that he's probably gone because there's just too much savings to be had there?
I don't know, because he's only got, his cap number is just under $7 million. And 5.5 of that is salary. 5.5 for a starting tackle. A $7 million cap number for a starting tackle. If they feel that Falele's ready,
right?
I guess, that's the big part of that equation. But Moses, there is cap savings there. That 5.5 is, but it doesn't. That's, I don't know. I'd be surprised. I know a lot of people are talking about it, but he's played pretty well. But that number is hard to replace him, to be honest with you.
So can you explain to everybody the complications of the Odell Beckham situation?
Sure. So Beckham, actually, it's less complicated. In January, it was originally complicated because of the void years. And with void years, you basically use them to give the player a lot of money, $15 million like he got last year, but keep his cap number low. So it was around 3.5, I believe, if I'm off the top of my head. So, but they added void years, which means the balance of the bonus all hits in the next year, which would be this year and would have been a little over $11 million. But what they did is they essentially extended him 2 years. This year he has a minimum salary, but his $25 million 2025 base salary would become guaranteed 3 days after the league year starts.
Right.
But what that does is he's not obviously never going to see that. So that's now the deadline. The original deadline would have been next week, the 19th, and then the void years would have hit, and there's nothing you can do about it. But by doing this, since it's after the league year, they can release him with a post-June 1 release. So if he's not re-signed, if they have no intention to re-sign him, or they just can't reach the numbers to work it out, they would use a post-June 1 release, which essentially for this year saves them about $8 million or $8.3 million on the cap. That 8.3 will move into onto the 25 cap, but by then again gives them a little more time to plan around it. This is the drawback of void years. Now they've avoided a little bit, and we're not getting the whole 11 this year, but it really was helpful for their cap for sure.
Is Pat Ricard in danger at this point?
I would think so, because there's $4 million in savings. His snaps went down this year with Monken. Now, doesn't mean he's not valuable, and they would like to have him around. But he's a guy. He's in the last year of his deal. He's getting $4 million in cash. He will get $4 million in cash somewhere else. Whereas I said earlier, I don't think Stanley would. So I don't think they can ask Ricard for a pay cut. Now, maybe they can extend him as they've done in the past. But that's one I think he and Bowles are probably the two that I think are most in jeopardy, I guess we'll say.
So give me the timeline, Brian. Like what has to happen first? Is it that they have to make a Stanley decision first, or do they have to make is the tag thing so quick that they kind of have to make just line up for me what this might look like for the next couple of weeks?
Sure. So the tag deadline, or the beginning of the tag window, is around February 19th, I believe, or in the early 20s. But it's about 2 weeks they have to make that decision. I assume they've got some other guys with voids coming up, Zeitler probably being the big one. And so Zeitler, Stone, Yassin, and Gus Edwards, and who am I forgetting? Aguilar. Their void years all hit if they aren't extended by the 19th of February. So if they want any of those guys back, they don't want to have all the void years counting this year plus what the player cost on his new deal. So they want those. They need to get those done. If they want any of those guys back, they need to get them done by the 19th, and then those void years stay spread out. So for instance, Zeitler, it would be over $4 million in dead money if they don't get it done by then. So you don't want to put $4 million in dead money and then sign him sometime in March, and his first year cap number be another $4 million. That'd be $8 million. So if they can get him done before the 19th, then his void year is only $1 million on top of the new $4 million. So, they've saved $3 million in that case. So they really want to get those kind of guys done. Zeitler would seemingly be a guy they'd be interested in getting back.
You would think.
Yeah. So obviously then you have the tag window with Madubuike, Queen, whether they want, whether they're going to go with either of them, but they have 2 weeks to do that. And they're not going to generally tag the guy until the deadline, which is about a week before the new league year, so in early March. So, those are the timelines. And obviously, I assume they're going to be trying to work on deals. If it is going to be Madubuike, trying to get him done before the deadline, probably tell his agent, look, we're going to tag you unless we can get a deal done, so let's get something done. And then, obviously, cuts will happen. Stanley can't happen. You can't use a post June 1 till after, like with Beckham. You can't do that till after the new league year. The problem with using the post June 1 release is, for instance, that $15 million in savings from Stanley is not available till June, after June.
Right, not going to help you.
Right, so it's not going to help for free agency, but that's something they can budget. They can spend all the way to the cap till then because they have that $15 million in their pocket as of June, and that would cover just about all their expenses. I mean, unfortunately, between practice squad and elevations and injuries, you're going to need that $15 million going, from July on for draft picks as well. So so that kind of they can budget around that. But for people thinking, we're going to have $15 million to spend it, or as soon as the new league year starts, it's not going to work that way if that's the way Stanley plays out.
All right. Remind everybody what they can find from you at Russell Street Report, as I'm sure that you're going to be on top of this every moment of every day this offseason.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is my time of the year. I'm about 2 weeks too early. So I'm on Twitter at Raven Salary Cap. My big article on Russell Street Report, which lays all of this kind of stuff out with the numbers, that will hopefully be out next Monday. It takes a while for me to get it together, but usually it's right after the Super Bowl because that's when we really start focusing on what's to come.
Brian McFarland, always appreciate you, man. I have no doubt that you and I will be in touch, both this show and the radio show, in the coming months. Thanks so much, as always, for doing this, dude.
That sounds good. Thank you again. You guys take care.
Thanks, buddy. Brian McFarland with us from Russell Street Report. He, of course, has his finger on the pulse of the Ravens salary cap situation. Unlike anyone else, appreciate him taking the time for us. Today's show brought to you by Toyota. CountySportsZone.com is your headquarters for local high school scores, schedules, and standings across all sports. CountySportsZone.com is proudly sponsored by Toyota. And if you think you know high school basketball, go to CountySportsZone.com, where you can pick the winners and earn points to see where you stand on the leaderboard. That's CountySportsZone.com, presented by your local Toyota dealer. It's been a busy Monday here on GCR as we just kind of keep moving from one thing to the next. I have always enjoyed my conversations with our next guest, and I don't like saying the words former Baltimore Oriole. That's just the way the world works. It is a pleasure to welcome back into the program, now a Milwaukee Brewer, former Oriole, DL Hall, who's back with us here on GCR. DL, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. It's awkward, the circumstances, but I've always appreciated you taking the time for us. Thanks for hopping on with us this morning, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, man, the most important thing, did we ever get, like, the big basketball showdown between the core group of you guys that came up together? Did that moment ever happen?
No, they dodged it for long enough until I was out of there. So.
Man, you know that's what it is, right? Like they just knew that they didn't want to get their feelings hurt, right?
Yeah.
Who
exactly.
was it Grayson? Who ran their mouth the most of everybody that said they could play?
Probably Grayson. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to talking, it doesn't matter what it's about. I think he wins.
He's the same way with golf too, right?
Oh yeah, everything.
Yeah, that's just who he is, man. DL, I guess let's do the part that everybody wants to hear. Did you know? Did you have any idea that you might? I just don't know how these things work. Does somebody come to you and say, DL, we want you to hear from us. We've been having conversations. We love you, but we just want you to know. Or did it catch you totally off guard when you got the news last week?
It was 100% off guard.
Okay.
I had no idea, no clue at all. Just got a call from Mike and got told the news. So, yeah, I had absolutely no idea that it was coming.
What goes through in the first moment, right? But before you have the opportunity to kind of catch your breath, what goes through your mind in that first moment when you get that news?
I think honestly just shock. Not really sure exactly what what type of emotion it was. It's kind of weird. I didn't really know what to. It didn't really feel real, I guess, until the next day when it kind of settled in. Still obviously doesn't feel real. Not until I get to the new facility, get around the new guys and things like that. So it's still it's crazy to think I'm going to Arizona instead of Florida.
Yeah, it's going to be a different world, right? Like there's going to be a lot of things that'll be different.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you measure those things, right? How do you measure the disappointment that you feel in that moment versus the excitement of being wanted, that there's an organization that said, this is that we want him? Like, how do you measure those two things?
It's tough thinking about, leaving my guys. I came up since an 18-year-old with essentially a lot of the same group, so we kind of moved throughout the minor leagues together for 4 years almost all together. So to leave that group of guys was kind of the sad part, I'd say. Just thinking about not being able to be with my boys that it's kind of like my family. But the excitement definitely took over, after a day or so, just thinking about the opportunity in Milwaukee and just getting to go out and really try and, make a name for myself.
DL Hall is with us here on GCR. DL, obviously so much was made last year about your usage, right, and deloading and things that, all of those topics. Had you gotten to a place where you were comfortable with the role that you had with the Orioles, or were you still in a place where you said, man, I really believe that I'm a starting pitcher in the major leagues, and is there a part of you that says maybe this is for the best because of it?
I think I kind of stick to my guns on what I said about this last season. Is for me, I get to play baseball every day.
Yeah.
For a job. So for me,
that doesn't
just
stink.
Being on the field and being it's not bad. So for me, just being on the field, whether it's in a starting role or a reliever role, like just being in the big leagues and getting to, just experience and do what we do on the daily basis is a blessing in itself. I kind of had settled into the reliever role, but there was always a part of me, in the back of my head that says, like, I was kind of itching for years for that chance to, get a few starts in the big leagues and get my feet wet and just kind of see how it goes, with a few starts versus just one. So for me, just getting the opportunity to, get some starts under my belt and see how things go is super exciting for me, just to, hopefully be able to throw it, shove it in some people's face when just to kind of prove a point that I can be a starter.
Is it like the mentality of that? We talk so much to guys. Did you have to change like who you were in the bullpen? I love talking to guys about what kind of like psychopaths they become when they pitch out of the bullpen. Did you have to change who you were, your approach to the game in taking on that role?
For me, I feel like I got to be myself a little bit.
Okay.
I feel like it was kind of the opposite. I've always been like, for me, like I tell people all the time, it's hard to pitch sometimes because it's not as, get after it as you may, want it to feel. So like being in the bullpen, being a starter and stuff, like, you're playing chess a little bit. You got to go through the lineup a few times. You got to be smart with it and do things a little differently. Whereas, the bullpen, you're coming out, you're letting it rip, and you're just, like you said, kind of almost just psycho and just like get after it out there on the mound. So like that part of it I really enjoyed, and like I'm a huge competitor, so I felt like it was natural. for me, is finding that, that mix of that psychopath and also the chess player, to be a starter.
Man, I love pitching psychopaths. It's like my favorite thing. Like the full on hawking up part of it. Like I'm just all in on all of that. DL Hall with us here on GCR. DL, do you ever look back and do you feel like it hurt you at all, the way that it went and moving, or are you just so capable of going from one role to the next that you never felt it impacted your development whatsoever to be doing different things at different times?
Obviously, everybody, wishes for a chance to get to stay in that starter role and get to go up and fail a few times, in the big leagues and learn from it and continue to try and develop and learn from those moments. But for me, I see everything as an opportunity, and just to be up in the big leagues, pitching in the big leagues, whether it was out of the bullpen or not, was a huge opportunity for me to learn. And I try and look at every day as, just a chance to learn something new and get better. So whether, as long as I'm towing the rubber, I'm learning something. So it didn't really matter whether it was at the start of the game or at the end of the game. I just kind of looked at it as a chance to get better and learn something.
I want to go back to your emotions if I could for a second, because I feel like there's an added layer to it. You brought up the guys, and obviously I know because we've talked to all of you guys like for years, and it was always one of my favorite things, and like having your families get to know each other. Like it just always seemed like such a cool thing to me, the way that this went. But I feel like the second layer of it is what this team is on the cusp of doing, right? Like you guys won 101 games last year. And 2 days before the trade, you get this news about new ownership and the excitement of maybe there being some money that could be coming in. And how much more did that impact your emotion, as much as you love the guys, just like knowing the potential for what was about to happen here?
Yeah, no, that was definitely that's definitely a hard part of it. I think that just kind of missing my guys and people that I'm comfortable with is like the biggest part of it. But definitely knowing that we built a winning culture there.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were kind of at the core of doing that. Like I feel like we really brought that feeling back to Baltimore, and that was obviously super exciting. So to leave that and to leave those guys and knowing how talented they are and things, it definitely played a part. But like I said, Milwaukee's got a super young they have a young squad as well, young core group that can really play. They won their Division II, so it's not like I'm taking a complete step back. So I'm super excited for what's to come in Milwaukee. Those guys do a really good job of kind of building up sort of what Baltimore's doing. So it'll be exciting. But yeah, definitely leaving my guys knowing just how talented they are and what's to come for them. I wish them nothing but the best, and I look forward to still keeping up with those guys.
It seems like a small thing, but like going with Joey, how just having somebody, right, like in the same shoes as you, that you like, how important is that for you as you make this transition?
Yeah, definitely huge. Me and Joey talked about it. It's definitely exciting to know Joey's a freaking great player.
Yeah.
I've always been huge on Joey. I love having him play behind me, especially. He's an incredible defender. So just having somebody that I know and that I've played with for a couple years, it definitely makes it a lot more comforting to know that.
You mentioned kind of shoving it and proving to some people. I'm a little bit nervous because I can't help but notice that it's not that deep into the season. It's April 12th when you guys are coming back here. Did you already seek that date out? And
I saw it.
Yeah, right. Matt, when that weekend gets a little bit elevated for you, I'm just gonna have to guess.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just look forward to trying to make my first opening day roster. So that's kind of, first things first, trying to get my first opening day. That would be super exciting. And if that happens, then I look I'm looking forward to returning to Baltimore for sure, and seeing the fans, seeing the guys, and maybe doing a little something.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about what that might mean to you. We've seen these over the years a few times. I'm a little bit worried that might be like a 17 strikeout performance. That's the way that it goes. So I know I'm asking you something that like you probably won't have like context for until a few years down the road. But if I said today, like, hey, what will your time with the Orioles organization, like, what will it mean to you when you reflect back on it? Do you start to have a feel for what that means, even though we're not even like, a week removed from your time with the Orioles organization?
No, I feel like I definitely have, an unbelievable amount of, I'm just very thankful for the time I had there. Obviously being an 18-year-old kid signing to a Major League Baseball club was, my dream my entire life. So just to get that chance and get it given to me by Baltimore, that'll forever be, a huge part and a huge place in my heart, because, this is the first organization, the only organization I had ever experienced. So I think it'll forever be special to me. All of the trials and tribulations that I faced, all the injuries, all the, just different things, coming through that rebuild, being there through the rebuild and seeing Baltimore come out of the trenches essentially and back into a winning team, and just being a part of all that. I feel like I matured and grew so much in so many different ways, and just received an unbelievable amount of help, from all different people throughout the organization. So I'll forever be grateful for that. And, that's one of those things that, you kind of never forget.
And let me, before we wrap up, if I could, you know who the guys are that get the most attention, but give me somebody that, as you've been through this, you said, you guys don't talk about this guy enough. This guy's going to be special. He's going to be a big piece. It's going to help, whether it's in Baltimore or somewhere else. Like, who's the guy that you've been around the last couple of years that you don't think gets enough love for everything that they can do?
That's a tough one. I feel like it's tough because our farm system and whatnot is so, so talked about. And,
it's true.
And, it's obviously Baltimore's farm system is one of the best in baseball. So I feel like it's kind of tough. I feel like everybody's kind of covered. But, I feel like, honestly, this one might sting for you, but I feel like, honestly, obviously, he's still a top
Joey.
100 prospect.
You're going to say Joey, aren't you? You are, aren't you?
Yeah. It's still a top 100 prospect, so I don't want to say he's not talked about enough, but obviously Gunnar and Jackson are two really phenomenal players. So I feel like Joey is somebody that's going to be a really, really, really good big leaguer, and I'm excited to get to play with him.
I think there's no doubt that's true, man. He's a hell of a player. There's no question about that. And I think a lot of people think it's just his glove too, which is amazing, right? Like his glove is amazing.
Yeah, I know it is.
Dude can rake.
The guy hit 330 in AAA.
Like that guy can hit, man. He's a hell of a baseball player. DL Hall, really, I've always appreciated you, dude. I've always appreciated the conversation. We're going to say that we're rooting for you. We're not going to root for you that weekend here in Baltimore. But I think, and I hope that you felt it from this community, like we will be rooting for you and your success moving forward. And wish you nothing but the best every time you're playing everyone but the Baltimore Orioles. And when it's an Orioles-Brewers World Series next year, we can all hang out and get together, and you can get over to Jimmy's and have fun, and that'll be great.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me always, and thanks for all the support throughout the years. And I really enjoyed each and every one of you, and enjoyed all the Baltimore fans for sure.
DL, thanks for taking the time for us, man. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
DL Hall spending a couple of minutes with us this morning after he was traded to Milwaukee in the Corbin Burnes deal. And, there he goes. He says it. Look, man, I'm excited about the opportunity to start again. And I appreciate the way he said it. Like, I was totally happy to continue in the role that I was in. But do I still feel like I could prove something? Yeah, of course. We don't need to grab a break here. We've taken 2 breaks, right? We've only taken 1?
We've only taken 1.
But that's a problem.
We did. Yeah, we did take 2.
That's what I thought.
Right,
I thought we took a second break.
You're right.
Because if we had only taken one, then we would have an issue. You're the producer.
Yeah, we've taken 2 breaks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I get it. And I think, again, our reflection is the same. I like DL Hall. This is not because DL Hall was just on the show. I've been saying it for 3 days. I like DL Hall. He was the arm in the bullpen that I thought had the highest end with Felix Bautista being sidelined. I like DL Hall. I think losing DL Hall is notable. This ain't nothing. This is a real thing. I still think it was a trade you had to make, and I'm still very excited about the trade. But I don't think this is just throwing something away. That I think DL Hall's a real thing, man. And it will be interesting to see if, as a starter, it can still be harnessed in Milwaukee. I brought that up last week. Like, sometimes just a change in location changes everything. Kevin Gausman, we all knew the talent. It just didn't come together. Jake Arrieta, of course, obviously, famously. We'll see. Different types of pitchers. I like DL Hall. I think he's a back end of the bullpen guy, but I don't blame him for wanting the opportunity or for being excited about the opportunity to get another chance to make some starts consistently, work through his struggles, and have kind of a fresh slate as he heads out to Milwaukee. All right, great weekend here in Baltimore as the weather cooperated for the start of college lacrosse season. And, of course, I was over at Loyola where they surprised some people, although I'm not all that surprised given everything they brought back. And they looked really good in an 18-10 win over number 12 Georgetown. This man looked particularly good in the victory. 9-point effort from Evan James, Loyola attackman, who's with us now here on GCR. Evan, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Congratulations on a huge win. Thanks for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Glenn. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Can you, Evan, just sort of walk through, like, you guys had such a weird year a year ago, right? Like, the highs at the beginning of the season, the dip, and then started to put it together late. Did you guys have confidence going into this year that we know we're better than what the ultimate results were a year ago, and we've got something to prove because of it this year?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there. I think our confidence, even though it maybe shouldn't have been at an all-time high starting this year, with what happened last year, we kind of started hot and then hit a little lull and then kind of found our way towards the end of the year. So I think the biggest thing for this year was, starting out hot again, and then how do we sustain that? Which we're kind of in the middle of right now. But yeah, a ton of confidence going into Saturday. I think our game plan was kind of perfect. We really focused on ourselves, mainly because it's hard to game plan against a team that hasn't played any games.
Right.
And they lost some guys, so they had a lot of guys in the transfer portal. So our big key was kind of just focus on us. How can we play our most complete and best game?
From an outside, I say an outside perspective, obviously I'm doing the games, but we talked about this on the broadcast on Saturday. It feels like it should be an advantage for you guys. A lot's been made. You brought back almost all of your offense from a year ago, right? Like, you guys have experience with each other. How much of a benefit was that to start the season? And do you feel like that there's still room for you to even continue to grow? Like, there's still guys that are younger, like Minikis and Haberman, that are in that mix. Do you feel like that, as confident as you were together, that can still even get better as the season goes on?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, obviously, we have a pretty good older core of guys up in the midfield, and then Adam and I down low. And we've all played together for 4 or 5 years now. But then you add guys like Haberman and Minikis and Davis Lindsay, Luke Murphy, guys like that that have grown up a ton over the last year, getting ample minutes last year. So look for guys like that to really, step into roles within our offense. And like you said, I think we still have, so much to improve on. And I don't know if there's ever a perfect game, but I think that we have a lot to work on. And that's kind of the goal of these next few weeks is how can we get better?
Evan James is with us here in GCR again. 5 goals, 4 assists on Saturday in the win over Georgetown. I just retweeted the video, that thing before the half, and I have to apologize. I probably had the worst call ever because I was so convinced that did not beat the buzzer in live action that I don't know that I sold it nearly as well. Like, in that moment, did you know? How confident were you? And have you ever been part of anything like that? I guess what was going through your mind? Did you think you had time when you made the pass?
No, I mean, I said it in the locker room at halftime. That was like the longest 7 seconds ever.
Right.
When Mustang picked it up in midfield and then threw it to Seth, I was like, that's got to be 7 seconds. It's already happened, right? But it's kind of just instinct in what we played together for so long. And Mustang's, such a dynamic defensive midfielder that, I trust to throw the ball into him like that. But yeah, the review was cool. I've never experienced anything like that in our sport. It's a great addition to the sport. Even the challenge flag that Coach Toomey had, I didn't even know he had that in his pocket. I guess I shouldn't have had that. But yeah, it was cool just seeing them in there. It's like what you see in the NFL when they're reviewing a touchdown. So yeah, it was exciting. Definitely brought some momentum into the locker room at halftime.
We're watching. We're like, dude, I think that's out of his stick with one. Like, it's crazy, man. That was such a cool moment. And how much did that do for you guys going into the locker room? Like, that's an electric. Lacrosse doesn't have logo 3-pointers typically, right? Like, every now and then you'll get like a goalie or defender chucking the ball down against a 10-man ride, something like that, or a pole goal can be an electric play. But how much did that do for your guys, after giving up a goal with 7 seconds left, going into the locker room off a high like that you guys fed off going back into the third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. That momentum was huge. I think it definitely carried over into the third a little bit, especially offensively, and definitely for Mustang. I mean, that was sweet.
What a cool
it was
moment,
funny.
man.
We were watching the ref review it, and Coach was kind of like, "Go in the locker room," and we were all like, "No, man, we
don't know."
We want to see if the goal counts or not.
Right. You got to have that moment. Yeah, as you pointed out, of course, Charlie had a review to crease call earlier in the half that went so like Charlie, he might want to retire now at this point from reviews because it's going so well for him.
Exactly.
Evan, from what you guys went through a year ago, how important you guys celebrate a great win, and deservedly so. But how quickly does the conversation change to, hey, we got to remember that we got good wins last year, and it didn't change our reality at the end of the season. Like, how quickly does the conversation go to, we don't get to celebrate too much because we got a lot more work to do?
Yeah, I think, it changed as quick as today. I mean, we're back. We're starting to prepare for Maryland, obviously, on Saturday. And that's kind of our mentality, is on to the next. Kind of like our game plan going into Georgetown. Let's just focus on what can we do to get better this week? What can we do to mimic that performance, and game plan the best for Maryland.
I imagine, right, like, you don't have to be reminded. You guys, it went the wrong way against Georgetown last year, and you're able to get revenge. I imagine that the guys from Maryland are probably thinking about revenge the way that you guys might have been a year ago when you took on them. So, like, you're going to be getting their best lick come Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's the way it goes, man. That's the exciting part. How much do you love this? How much do you love the fact that Charlie continues to put this type of non-conference schedule together? So you're playing, you get this awesome atmosphere at home to start the season. Now you go down to Maryland. How much does that drive you, and it's part of the reason why you wanted to be at Loyola to begin with?
I mean, I think it's awesome. There's not many places where you get a chance to play the type of schedule that we do, especially early. And some people might moan and groan about it, that we start, with a bunch of top 20 teams to start off with, but really it's only making us better.
Yep.
Regardless, obviously, of what happens on the scoreboard, we're continuing to get better and prepare for that Patriot League tournament.
Yeah.
So and it's definitely one of the reasons why, I came to Loyola, why kids come to Loyola. You want to play the best, you want to beat the best.
By the way, you mentioned the Patriot League. Like, the league was already brutally difficult, and now Colgate is getting in there and beating Penn State, right? Like, God, man. The league looks like it could be hell this season, bro.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's cool to see other teams in the league doing well, and Colgate's been on the come up for the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely a tough opponent. Great game against Penn State. I watched a little bit of the highlights. That was crazy. And Lehigh played Rutgers pretty well.
No doubt. It was a big weekend. I think Navy's going to be really good this year again too, and we all know Army BU. It sets up to be a heck of a year in the Patriot League. Evan, before I let you go, just because this is the first time you and I had an opportunity to chat, you mentioned that was part of the reason why you came to Loyola. You're a kid from Ohio. What were the other reasons? Like, why? What was it about Loyola that made you want to be here as you put together this really awesome career?
It's hard to think back. Geez, I got recruited when I was like a sophomore in high school, so that's 8 years ago or something like that. But yeah, I think the biggest part, obviously, being able to play on this stage at a smaller institution and have a chance to do something special in a really competitive league. But I think the main thing, and I think a lot of my teammates would say the same thing, is the coaching staff. I think Coach Toomey, Coach Van Arsdale, Coach Shalon, Coach Fakeness, are the best in the business. And I've really enjoyed my 5 years with them. And that was kind of a huge persuading factor, during the recruiting process was those guys.
It's a special group. There's no question about it. And we are looking forward to big things that you guys might be capable of doing. Evan, is there anything we can plug for you? I was searching for you like on Twitter and Instagram. Are you on there anywhere that folks can give you a follow?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My handle is Evan_James_8.
_8 on Instagram is how you can give him a follow. Evan, awesome start to the season. Incredible victory against Georgetown on Saturday. Good luck this Saturday against Maryland. Can't wait to see what's next for you guys. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning to chat about it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Glenn. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Evan James, Loyola Lacrosse. Again, great start to the season. We're going to try to do that. We talk about this a lot. We like to cover local sports. I know we're all Orioles-Ravens centric, and there's been a lot of big news, but we will. My goal, ideally, during the season, is I'd like to have. If one of the local teams wins a big game every week, I'd like to have somebody on each week. Now, will that be possible? Everybody's got class schedules and practice and things like that. I don't know.
But when Glenn Clark Radio comes calling.
Yeah, look, we got great relationships with all those programs, and it's something that we do that's a little bit different than what other people do. And, we're not lacrosse-centric. I hope that our audience becomes more inclined to pay attention because we do it. I hope that's the case. I love it. I love doing it, man. It's my favorite thing. My buddy Morgan Pritchett, who used to play at Stevenson, who's a big Ravens fan, was messaging me about that last week. I'm like, dude, I love lacrosse. I always have. Before I was ever involved in the sport, as a broadcaster, before I was ever involved in the sport. I played a little bit. I wasn't good at all because I was fat, because I had no interest in running.
Thought you'd have. Okay, yeah, I guess.
Because
you were decent at the other stick sport, like
what
like tennis, like the other.
Oh yeah, that was. It's so funny because even when I was fat, I was a good tennis player. Like even when I was fat, I could play. My serve's not good enough. Like I couldn't have really. Like I couldn't have played at a high level because my serve. I would have had to have really spent time on it.
Yeah.
But even when I was fat, I had no problem. Like it was a weird fat. Like it was. Yeah, I was fat, but like I could still cover the court. I could still. People would just think they could get me if they would get me running. They'd be like, I'm good here. Just get this guy running, and they'd be like, what the hell?
That backhand was just.
No, I never had a good backhand either. I never had. My backhand was always a slice. Like it was always.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a two-hand backhand that I had confidence in. Like I would try it.
How long did you play tennis? Still?
Oh man, like competitively.
Sure.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Briefly. Okay. And which is a shame because like looking back on it, it was definitely my best sport, and I should have committed to it. I should have
top 1,000 in the country.
No, in the country.
Yeah.
If I had committed to that's such a difficult thing because the truth is I don't think I would have committed to what it would going to take to be in shape. Like I might have committed to tennis, but committing to don't drink, committing to sleep habits, things like that, over partying when I wasn't good enough and I had nobody investing.
Chicken and rice every meal.
Yeah, they love sushi now. Have you noticed that?
Really?
Everybody was eating at the Australian Open was sushi. It was
interesting.
I guess the way to carb up, during the course of a. But like it's sushi out in the Australian heat. I don't know how I had some good sushi on Saturday night actually, and then we went to I had plenty of carbs this weekend. Your boy should go play some tennis today. I carved up over the weekend between that and the Japanese steakhouse, man. Yeah, I don't know how we got there. Oh, I just love lacrosse. So, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that more frequently during the course of the year.
Sushi
And tennis. Glenn Clark, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is still available. I have been given the heads up that we're within like 2 weeks of being able to advance on the next print issue of Press Box. So closing on the time to get this one, our best of 2023 issue, still available at your neighborhood Royal Farms and the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. When we come back in, we'll get a tidbit, and we will get Tubular to wind things down for a Monday edition of GCR.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the Bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Monday edition of the program. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the weekend that I didn't cover that I wanted to, and I don't think there is. I think we got to everything. God, it would be really nice if there was another Orioles. God, that would just...
We're getting greedy.
I know we're getting greedy, but part of this we're getting greedy because of our own content, because I just don't have Super Bowl stuff in. Like, we got to decide on side bet, because we got to make sure we got to, like, tomorrow. We had that Oreo queso thing that somebody, and then Jeremy sent something, I think.
I don't know if I saw.
I'll take a look at the, that might have been what Jeremy sent. We got to decide on that by, like, the tomorrow afternoon, so that we can get everybody to commit to it that's going to be a part of it, or who's not. Like, we got to work on that. And then we got to pick what the props are going to be that we're going to use for the side bets. So we got to work on that during the course of...
How many times Taylor Swift is shown on TV?
I would drastically prefer to have no Taylor Swift related to anything.
I would drastically prefer to have no football related to anything.
I hate... Yeah, and what you're feeling is exactly like normally we get to the Super Bowl and we're like, all right, well, let's see who the local connect. I'm like, I am just so I'm not there. I'm not there. And I'm trying to remember how I felt the last two times the Ravens lost the AFC Championship game, right? So, 2011.
So
Yeah,
that was the Patriots.
2011 season was
Giants.
the Billy Cundiff. And then, yes, it did lead the Patriots, Giants, and Indianapolis. Now, part of that was we were there for that Super Bowl, and we were doing a lot of Indianapolis shtick that week. So I think that helped us get through.
Just fighting with Indianapolis people. And
yeah, I mean, like Drew and I went out there and
Where's
and
Jim
ruffled.
Irsay?
They wrote the Indianapolis Star wrote a piece about us like on the Monday of the week, and so we got a lot of hate like from the people in Indianapolis. Like Drew and I, we played those cards well for the Indianapolis. Like the Indianapolis thing got us over the disappointment and the fact that we weren't feeling it whatsoever. I also think it was different because you didn't feel like the team had let you down. Like, this is a weird part about this. Remember, in 2011, it was almost an encouraging loss because Joe Flacco had outplayed Tom Brady, and you genuinely believe that if one of these two guys had just finished their play, you would have won the Super Bowl. So it was weirdly encouraging. And then, obviously, it was a terribly discouraging offseason because Terrell Suggs got hurt and, like, I keep coming back to it. It was such a weird feeling. Everything was lined up in 2011. Nothing was lined up in 2012. But at the end of the 2011 season, you oddly felt encouraged by as furious as you were about the two plays at the end of the game. When you were able to step back and have like the 20,000-foot view, Joe Flacco's playoff performance was starting to become a thing. We were starting to recognize, like, hey, Joe Flacco. He's kind of playing a little bit in the postseason, right? Like he'd had that win over the Chiefs before that. Like you had started to be like, maybe there's a there, right? And if they had just done one of these things, they would have been in the Super Bowl. This is a completely different thing because you were the better team, and you failed, and now the track record is failure, and like it's just a different vibe and a different feeling and a more dejected. As awful as those two plays were that year, the big picture was they're right there.
Yeah.
They're right there. This is, I think, more discouraging because it was like you stepped backwards. You didn't step up, you stepped backwards. So I do think that those, and then I would say the exact same thing. 2008 was never supposed to happen. I still don't know how 2008 happened. Rookie quarterback, first-year head coach who had been a special teams coordinator previous to that, and they ended up in the AFC Championship game. It was a miracle. I mean, it was an effing miracle. They had to go on the road the week before and beat the best team in the AFC and the Titans in order to get there. So, as disappointing as it was because you got there, and they got their asses kicked. I mean, the only points they scored were because of pass interferences. I mean, like they got their ass kicked.
That was the offense, yeah.
You were so encouraged by the fact that they had gotten there that, like, hey, there might be something here. We didn't know how good Joe Flacco was yet, like, because they didn't really ask him to do anything that year. But there was this belief of, hey, the defense is good enough that maybe you don't have to ask. This guy could just do enough to win something for you. Ironically, when they did, it was the exact opposite. The defense wasn't very good, and Joe Flacco had to go win it for them. But I think those two were still largely more encouraging than discouraging. The two plays at the end of the Patriots game.
I think it might have something to do with as well. So it was the Steelers were in that first Super Bowl, and so you hate the Steelers. So you're watching to watch the Steelers lose. You hate Tom Brady.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. Definitely with this.
We're growing to hate Patrick. I mean, hate is still a strong
Steelers played
word.
the Cardinals in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, so that was probably easy for you to.
Yeah, for me personally,
well.
I never rooted for the Cardinals. Like this is the fun. Like it's not easy for people struggle with this sometimes. They're like, you're a Suns and a Capital or a Suns and a Coyotes fan. Definitely not a Capitals fan. We didn't have teams. I had no allegiances in those sports. This is the first time in my life that I ever had a team. It wasn't hard. Like the moment that I had a team, like I was all in. But I was never going to cash in the fandom that I already had just because I moved somewhere. Like, I'm like, forget the first 20. Now, was it fun? Like, the Diamondbacks that year made a run to the NLCS when I was living out there. Was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. I went to games. I was covering the team. They actually were sending me on the road at the time. In the playoffs, not during the regular season. It was fun. It was fun, but I wasn't a Diamondback. I wasn't living and dying with it. I was just enjoying the ride. The Cardinals stunk, right? Like, so I didn't really have any positive emotions towards the Cardinals whatsoever.
Did you get to watch? This is just a random question. Did
Dennis
you get to
Green?
watch?
I was there.
Oh, okay. No, did you get to watch Orioles and Ravens games like out there? Because did they have like extra inning packages?
Frustrating. They had a direct TV package, but the Orioles games are all at 4:00.
Yeah.
My radio show was 3 to 6.
Oh, okay.
Like, it just actually, when I first got there, my radio show was the first baseball season that I was there. My radio show was 3 to 6, so there was no point. So no, I wasn't watching the Orioles at all. I found
not that there was much to watch. Yeah,
it was when 30-3 happened. I was in Arizona for 30-3, and they were killing me on it. They were just the guys that I did the show with were murdering me.
So you were on the air when that game was happening?
Because it was the first game of a doubleheader, so it actually started even earlier.
Oh.
Like, it was basically over by the time our show was on, and they were murdering me. I mean, I remember the Orioles had the press conference between the two games to announce. God, would that have been Tremblay that they announced as had been elevated from interim to full-time manager in between the two after they lost 30-3. I mean, it was awful. It was atrocious. But they kept trying to, and there was no hope. I was so emotionally disconnected. I was like, yeah, they lost 30-3 because they stink. Like, they're terrible. What do you want me to say? Like, oh, this is really disappointing? No, this is about right. Have you looked at them? They're awful. They're awful. So they couldn't hurt me. And I got together with, there was a group of, so on Sundays, typically I was not assigned Cardinals games. I was usually assigned, we would do like a watch party. And the first one that I did was at, I want to say Gillies and Chandler. And
not like Gillies and Pikesville?
Wherever it was. I can't. No, they're not like a chain. It was a different place. There used to be a Gillies in Annapolis, actually. No, in Hanover, near Live Casino. Yeah.
Got it.
But wherever it was that I went, like one of the first ones I did, I walked in, and it was where the Ravens fan party was. And I was like, like the smile that I had on my face. You're for real. And so that was just where I hung out.
Nice.
Moving forward. So I did love football in Arizona because I love the 10 a.m. thing. You wake up and you're right in. You don't have to waste any time. You wake up and you're right into it.
And then the games end at.
Oh yeah,
9.
You have time at the end of it. Yeah,
before
at
9.
8 o'clock or so. So you have time at the end of the night to decompress after all of it. Like I did like. I didn't like college football because it started at 9 a.m. And in my drinking years, that was too early. Like, because they would also assign me like game watches for college football games. They'd be like, "Hey, you got to go to Sneakers and watch college football on Saturday." And I'd be like, "Tough job, but I guess somebody's got to do it." Or I was doing a 10 a.m. to noon radio show for a little. That's not. I take that back. I was doing a 10 a.m. to noon radio show on Saturdays from Casino, Arizona. Great place. Loved hanging out there.
Sounds like it.
And again, the games are all on. It was cool. But it was frustrating to be doing a radio show like during
games.
College football was a big deal in Arizona. It's not like it is in the southeast, but it's a transient area, and a lot of Midwesterners go to Arizona. The way that like a lot of people from like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania go down to Florida, a lot of like Chicago, Iowa. There is a huge Iowa fan base in Arizona. There's a massive Nebraska fan base in Arizona. Like people from that portion of the Midwest retire or move to Arizona, or people whose baseball team. This is a straight shoot that I didn't know about until I lived in Arizona. People that like choose to retire where their baseball team does spring training. Like people that say that are from here, that when they retire, like I want to move to Sarasota, because you can keep some part of you in your life
Right.
while going to a place with more pleasant weather. Like, I'll still be able to be an Orioles fan living in Sarasota. And, like, the number of Cubs fans in Phoenix was astronomical. Like, it was bonkers. It was a problem for them whenever they played the Cubs in that playoff. And, like, I remember there being a heated debate with Derek Hall, the then president of the Diamondbacks. Like, could we not play Take Me Out to the ball game after the 7th inning or during the 7th inning stretch because, like, people associate it with the Cubs, and there are going to be so many Cubs fans there that you don't want to have it turn into like a Cubs pep rally in the middle of the game.
Did they play it?
They did.
Oh, okay.
I actually was
And
on
they
the
ended up
I was
losing.
on the side of don't.
Wait, no,
they beat the
yeah,
Cubs
that's right,
in the
they- yeah.
division series. They lost to the Rockies in the NLCS.
Buzzsaw Rockies, yeah.
Then they turned around and got swept by the Red Sox in the World Series. But they swept the Diamondbacks. It was over. I remember one of the reporters from Denver were standing outside the clubhouse after Game 2. He's like, "You think there's any chance?" I'm like, "They're not going to win a game. They're not winning a game. There's no way."
Who was on that Diamondbacks
No
team?
way. Justin Upton was on that team. He was like 19 at the time. Mark Reynolds was on the Diamondbacks team.
This
for
was
sure.
07, right?
Yes, 07. Mark Reynolds was on that team. Brandon Webb was on that team, of course. Oh, God. It was not like a star. Stephen Drew. Yep,
yeah.
was absolutely on
Emilio
that team.
Bonifacio.
Yeah, Emilio Bonifacio was on that team. Robbie Hammock, I
Named
think.
a cat after Emilio Bonifacio.
That's weird.
His name was Emilio.
That's very weird.
Name for a cat.
Say it was named after Emilio Estevez. That's less weird.
No. Chris Young.
Oh, yeah, CY was definitely on that team.
Carlos Quinton was on
hard-hitting Carlos Quinton was absolutely on that team.
Scott Hairston.
Yeah.
Oh, Kirk Gibson was a bench coach.
Kirk Gibson was bench coach. And Bob Melvin was the manager.
He was.
I love Bo Mel. Bo Mel was awesome. I mean, really was awesome.
Jose Valverde.
Yeah, Papa Grande. Jose Valverde, absolutely. And who are the other catchers? I remember Robbie Hammock, but he was like the third
Miguel
catcher.
Montero.
Miguel Montero, who
And
could
Chris Snyder.
Chris Snyder.
Yeah, there
absolutely
we
was
go.
the
Former
other
Oriole.
catcher. Yeah. And was Bernsey on that? Bernsey was on that team, right?
Bernsey, I don't. I'm not seeing him on the Wikipedia here. Eric Burns. Yes,
Eric
yes,
Burns. Yeah, 100%. I'm like, Bernsey was definitely on that team because I remember hanging out with Bernsey a few times.
Dana Eveland.
Dana Eveland was on that team. Orlando Hudson was on that team, but was hurt in the playoffs. Did not play. The O-Dog, Orlando Hudson. Love me some Orlando Hudson. God, that was a fun team.
Finish the roster. This will be the tidbit.
Oh, God.
2007 Diamondbacks roster.
Who else was on that team? Jesus. All right. Well, I haven't named any of the pitchers, right?
Yeah, we got Valverde.
I got Brandon
Webb.
Was
Dana Eveland.
Was Doug Davis on that team?
Doug Davis was on that team.
Oh, God. Who are the other pitchers on that team, man? I was around this team every day. Who were the other 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks pitchers? Was... Oh, well, Micah Owings, because Micah Owings, it was actually awkward. I remember also getting in a fight with Derek Hall because I said, that guy's an outfielder. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Because he could hit like crazy. But he was not... I did not see it for him as a pitcher. But he could hit, man. That guy could rake. And who was the other?
Might have been right. Yeah. Well,
dude, I know I was right.
Yeah.
I know that guy could rake. Who was the other? I don't know. Who else? Who am I missing?
Was
Tony Pena in the bullpen?
Yes, he was.
Tony Pena was in the bullpen.
Tony Pena. Yusmeiro Petit.
Yusmeiro Petit. Yeah, he was definitely part of that.
Mike Schultz. I don't know if that one's. What? Randy Johnson?
Randy Johnson was. He was. I mean, okay.
For like what? Like April and May?
It was a weird thing where like it was over, but
was it like when the Orioles? Well, I guess Felix Hernandez never really pitched for the Orioles.
No, Felix Hernandez never. No, but they brought him back. Like he had been in Arizona, then he left, and they brought him back, and he was actually still there in 2008, and I remember that because there was a Randy Johnson. Not
like a bobblehead or something?
No, it was him and like Daisuke Matsuzaka was the pitching matchup, and it was I walked in that day and I have never seen anything like it. Like I had never seen the overwhelming like Japanese media contingent, and it was so much more because it was him against Randy Johnson. Like it was wild, Chief. Like that was a wild day in 2008.
Brandon Lyon.
I don't remember Brandon Lyon.
Joe Kennedy.
I vaguely remember. LeVon Hernandez was definitely on that team, 100%. 100%.
We got an Edgar Gonzalez, Enrique Gonzalez,
nothing.
J.D. Durbin, Juan Cruz, Randy Choate. Or is it Coate or Choate?
No, it was Choate.
It was Choate.
Yeah. I mean, I vaguely remember Randy Choate. I don't know why. I apparently didn't know any of the guys in the bullpen.
Alberto Cayaspa was on this team.
I apparently knew none of the guys in the bullpen whatsoever because none of these I don't know why. Normally, guys in the bullpen are the easiest guys to connect with when you cover a team,
right?
Because they have less demands. I don't know why. I mean, like, it's funny because, like, looking back on it, I connected big time with Justin Upton. Like, Justin and maybe because of age, because he was so young, that it made it easy to make him approachable at the time. Like, I connected big time with Justin Upton. I connected with Bernsey big time on that. That was my guy. Orlando Hudson, Hammock. I like the guys that I remember first. The guys that I
Patrick Stevens game. Name the 5 teams Eric Burns played for.
Well, Baltimore for like a week.
Yes.
St. Louis.
No.
Why did I think he was Oakland?
Oakland, yes.
Yeah. He wasn't in St. Louis, really?
No.
I could have. Because there was a season he was with 3 teams.
Here.
And I thought, I don't know why, but I thought St. Louis was one of them. That's weird.
The Savannah Bananas for a little bit. I'm not seeing a St. Louis stint here.
I believe you. I'm surprised by that. All right, so I got 3 of them. The other 2 are...
Yeah, 05 was the season he played for 3 teams. You're missing
including the Orioles.
Including the Orioles.
Yeah.
You're missing the one in the middle there. He went from
Seattle?
He was with Seattle in 2010.
Okay. What's the other one in 05? Oh, Colorado.
Yep.
Colorado.
Good job.
Yep. 100%. Was that tidbit? Are we making that tidbit because it's 12:26? We can do that.
I was gonna do a quick Grammys one, I guess.
All right. What is it?
Do we need to sponsor it?
Tidbit is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Go ahead, Griffin.
Sports and Social is the place to be for the big game at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. It features an on-site FanDuel location, and it is your ultimate spot to watch the big game on the massive 100-foot media wall. So order up your favorite game day bites, take a sip from our signature crushes and extensive beer selections, all just steps from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Watch, wager, and win at Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Go ahead.
Taylor Swift now has the most Grammy or the most album of the year Grammys, 4 by an artist. She was tied with 3 others who had 3 album of the year Grammys. Name those 3.
Well, it's Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder was one of them.
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon was one of them.
It's U2 only had 2, right?
U2.
I feel like that came up recently at trivia.
Yeah. U2. They did not have 3.
I actually feel like this was a question at trivia recently. There was so much going on last week that I never mentioned the one sports question. We rolled. We killed trivia
last week.
Oh, we clobbered.
Does that mean you're gonna have is it a letdown?
Oh, this is a big spot for a letdown tonight. Plus, I got to go home first to do the birthday stuff with the kid.
You get to, yeah.
So I'm gonna be distracted. Like today's a huge. I would not bet on Team Norfolk and Way.
Norfolk and Way.
Say it fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Norfolk and Way.
Yeah. So
they like that name?
We've said we were going to change it like 4 times, and we never did. It was like a name from forever ago. We've just never.
All 3 of his albums came out in the 60s, or at least the winners of these albums.
Oh, probably Sinatra, right?
Frank Sinatra,
yeah, Sinatra.
Correct. Sinatra, Wonder.
It was either
Paul
him
Simon,
or Tony Bennett, like at that point.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Lee Company. There's one. There's
Wanking
one
motion. I mean, like sorry.
There's one
I'm not spending
engineer
any more time with
mixer that has won 5 Album of the Year award Grammys.
T-Bone Burnett?
No. Don't know how to say their name.
Don't know how to say their name.
Not that. So I don't think you would know them, but they did.
I was going to say
they did 3 Taylor albums.
Kenny.
They did 24 Karat Magic apparently with the.
Oh, is it Jack Antonoff?
No.
Oh, then I don't know.
Serban Gania.
Might
be on trivia tonight.
Sure.
Just trying to help you out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And then Adele's 25 was the 5th one.
Oh, okay. Sure. If you say so. All right, Tubular is brought to you today by Superbook. You know how much we love Superbook. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. That's GlennClark23. Two ends, the numbers 2, 3. Obviously, not only big game bets, but there are 2025 futures that are available. They've taken the awards markets down at Superbook because we all know Lamar Jackson's going to win on Thursday night. But there are some other fun things, like, for example, which quarterback has more completions during the game? Mahomes, a 4.5 completion favorite.
I will take Brock Purdy.
So to cover the 4.5 completion spread.
So plus 4.5 is
yep,
the.
You get Brock Purdy plus 4.5.
What about Brock? Is there a Brock Purdy outright or? The way I see it going,
there's probably a player. Well,
predictions
hang on.
Here.
You could
but
bet.
I feel like I don't know, the Chiefs are going to run the ball like they have been all playoffs.
That makes some sense. That makes some sense.
The Niners going to have to try to get back.
Will
into
Brock
this.
Purdy's longest run be over or under 7.5 yards?
Over is
a minus 120 favorite.
Over.
But still pretty good money to be made there if you like it. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular wise. It's what it is. It's that time of year. So 2 local teams in action tonight, Morgan and Coppin, both in action, both on the road. Morgan is at North Carolina Central at 7:30. Coppin is at South Carolina State at 7:30. You can watch those games on the respective websites. The doubleheader on ESPN, Miami, Virginia at 7, Kansas State at 9. All the rest of the college basketball, find at GlennClarkRadio.com. NBA TV, Warriors, Nets at 7:30. NFL Network and CBS Sports Network tonight for Super Bowl opening night. You can't miss that. It's the old media day that they moved to prime time, and I have never understood why, because I don't know why any human being would ever watch that live. Please find a hobby. Please find anything else that you can do in your life.
What are they doing? They're just like
it's just press. It's just they make everybody.
With the players?
Yeah, but it's all they're all going on at the same time. It's not like one press conference.
Oh, right.
Like they're all just out there, and people are doing their goofy shtick. And do you like peanut butter?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
It's so dumb. It's so unfathomably dumb. But you can watch it tonight at 8:00. USA Network, Brentford and Man City at 3:00. Then WWE Raw tonight at 8. A lot of hubbub in the pro wrestling world after The Rock has cucked Cody Rhodes.
Ridiculous.
He's going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, apparently. Non-sports highlights.
They don't think Cody Rhodes can carry a pay-per-view?
Or maybe it's all big rouge. Who knows? Maybe.
Be The Rock versus Cody Rhodes.
Or maybe all 3 of them.
Whoa.
Or maybe they just want to make Cody a bigger babyface. Or I don't know. I think it's just going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns.
Not much tonight, obviously. The Bachelor at 8 on ABC.
What's the Run DMC thing?
That came out on Thursday, actually.
Oh,
It is Kings from Queens.
And where is it?
The Run DMC Peacock.
Okay.
Peacock. And so that's out now as well. And the season 11 premiere of Below Deck on Bravo.
Yeah, can't miss that. Can't miss that. John Colson's very excited. Can't miss that.
Elizabeth Warren will be on Colbert.
Sure, promoting
Keegan-Michael Key will be on
Madam
Fallon.
Webb.
I'm
guessing.
Maybe she will. I don't know.
All right, very good.
Not a lot. Not a whole lot.
GlennClarkRadio.com. Find it there. Thanks today to DL Hall. Thanks to Jeremy Kahn. Thanks to Evan James from Loyola. Bill Schroeder from out in Milwaukee. And Brian McFarland from Russell Street Report. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, Ryan Jensen,
Correct.
former Baltimore Raven, had a really difficult medical situation and announced his retirement from the NFL. Super Bowl champion with the Buccaneers. Good guy, an OG with Show Your Soft Side. I hope that means he'll be back for Project Runway this year. Normally each year he and Torrey Smith agree to pick up all of the adoption tabs for everybody, all the fees. They just go ahead and pay for all of the adoptions of Project Runway, so I'm hoping that's the case. But love Ryan Jensen. Bummed out for him medically, but happy for his family that they'll have some time together because they are good people. So we'll catch up with Ryan tomorrow. Patrick Stevens will join us. County Sports Zone Radio, Stuff and Things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Don't forget, get out and get your goose flights all over town. Glory Days Grill, Costas Inn, Guilford Hall Brewery, the Wine Source in Hamden, Alonzo's, Bet Park Sportsbook at the Green Turtle in Canton, Goose Flights, benefiting the Goose Flights Foundation. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Morgan, go Coppin, Duke sucks.